Hello there, and welcome to the Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we discuss all the latest in pop culture news and reviews, gaming reviews, and just the overall topics of the day. If you don't know me, I am Price of Reason, and with me, as usual, there is my co host, Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Going well, getting a bit of a blizzard in our area the last couple days. So kids have been out of school and all sorts of stuff. But that's just part of the season, and we've just been hanging out at home and avoiding all of the nasty weather. So it's not been too bad.
For me, it's been extremely cold.
Oh yes.
It's really, really cold, and I went to see a movie. And now I can't remember what movie I saw. Oh, I remember now. I got something that it was like an advanced screening. So I went to see an advanced screening yesterday of a movie. I kind of had hoped that it would have been something a little more fun. I guess always when they invite you to the ones that are in advance, those are usually the non-fun ones. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean the movie was it was called something like My Dead Friend Zoe. Uh, have you
Okay.
heard of that movie?
No, not at all.
So I'll just quickly, just My Dead Friend Zoe. That was the movie that I saw, and I'm going to find, see if there's. It does it have like a Rotten Tomatoes score? I wonder.
Oh, who knows?
Okay, so I'm clicking on it. Uh, it has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
That's already suspicious, honestly. But I'll give you my thoughts on it. Hold on one second. It hasn't come out yet. Probably nobody knows what this movie is, and I don't know that anybody cares or gonna see it. But so it's called My Dead Friend Zoe. Now the thing is that I actually uh, I like when movies have like a small budget and there's somebody that has a passion to do something. This is a U.S. Army veteran that made the movie apparently, and he made it to raise awareness for PTSD that soldiers come back from, including things that lead to depression and to self-deleting. And I think that the idea of making a movie like this is good. Also, as supporting characters in this movie, you have Ed Harris and you have Morgan Freeman, great actors. And even though Morgan Freeman, you see him less than Ed Harris, every scene he's in, he's great. The part that's kind
Yeah.
of like the more flimsy part is that the two, I would say, or the one main lead is that lady from Star Trek Discovery. And man, she's not my favorite actress. I
Mm-mm.
will say that
No.
she's better here. She's better here than Star Trek Discovery because here she's sort of like distraught and has like different PTSD and stuff. So the fact that she's like more emotional or whatever, it somehow makes more sense. On Star Trek Discovery, I suppose that some of it is the bad writing, but she doesn't help. There's nothing she does on Star Trek Discovery that I'm like, you know what, she's really carrying this thing. So it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah. She just doesn't feel like a leading actress to me
No, no,
at all.
and I also will say something else. There's an idea here that I think is interesting. She basically is living her life, and it's not a spoiler because you see it within the first like 2 minutes of the movie. I don't think I'm ruining anything. There's a friend of hers that's kind of with her, and you quickly understand that the friend is basically a friend that's no longer alive. That she feels guilty for the fact that that friend isn't alive,
Mhm.
and I think that that's an interesting idea. She's going to this kind of therapy thing where Morgan Freeman is like in charge of the therapy group for soldiers with PTSD, and I believe that some of the people in that group, they brought real veterans who actually talk about real issues they have. Which, I mean, I respect that. I do respect it, and I
Yeah,
like Morgan Freeman. And they also did some other. I mean, again, you can explain it. It's not that they explain why that is, but Ed Harris is the one from Discovery's grandfather. Are you
yeah.
with me?
Okay.
So the way he's her grandfather is that she had a grandmother who passed away who was, I guess, a black, and then the son, I guess, was sort of biracial, but I guess he married a black woman. So that's why the explanation is that the granddaughter kind of looks black, even though Ed Harris is her grandfather. I'm not saying that something like that couldn't happen. I'm
Yeah.
just saying you do realize that, like, you had Morgan Freeman in the in the same cast.
Sure.
You could have,
Yeah,
like, swapped their
yeah.
roles if you really wanted. Although, yeah, and I'm sure, like, both Harris and, like, Morgan Freeman could have done either role, but I will say this, Ed Harris is the best thing about this movie. Ed Harris, I don't know how old he is because he seems old at this point. Every
Mhm.
scene he's in, it's like he's a Vietnam veteran that's like, his wife died and he himself is going through, like, he's having early signs of, like, Alzheimer, and, I'm gonna say that he actually gives really impressive performance. That's like the if somebody is carrying this movie, I think it's him. But at the end of the day, even though, I don't prefer that actress very much, there was an interesting idea here, and I like there's also they're trying to raise awareness to these problems at the end. You can like donate to these organizations that help veterans. I encourage that kind of thing. A movie
That's
with a small
fantastic. Yeah.
y like a movie with a small budget that's trying to do something positive is already something that I like. And also, in spite of the fact that she's not my favorite actress, and like you said, she doesn't really give me the leading lady vibes, she does probably the best she's ever done. Because I've seen her on Walking Dead, and I thought she was just okay there. I saw her
Mhm.
on Star Trek Discovery. I thought that she wasn't good there at all. And in
Yeah.
this movie, this is the best you're going to get out of her, in my opinion. Sonequa Green or whatever
Yeah.
her name is.
Shaniqua Martin Green, yeah.
I was close enough.
Yep.
So that's like the best you're gonna get out of her. But and honestly, you had Morgan Freeman there. I would have done a little more with him, but there's a positive thing. So I wouldn't give this movie a fail. You know what I mean? I'd probably give it like maybe like a 7 out of 10. It's okay. It's a small budget. It's a small indie with a small budget that somebody came to do something positive,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that. And it has some good performances like Ed Harris, and although you don't see him enough, but Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
So there's something good about the movie. It's just it's not fantastic, but it's like it's decent.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I'll tell you is that there were pieces of the puzzle here to make a better movie, even with the smaller budget, even with everything. Because first of all, you got Ed Harris and Morgan Freeman, who seem to be game, and I almost think that maybe they got him on the cheap because they were supporting the cause. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, that could be, and that wouldn't be out of order for a lot of actors, to see a smaller project and really see some passion behind it and a real mission behind what they were doing with that film to offer their time for the
Yeah,
movie.
and
Yeah.
actually, they make a point of showing that, like at the end, Morgan Freeman. I think they show him in uniform. I guess he served. So I maybe there was some reason why this was especially important to him. I suspect that this wasn't something where people got like huge paychecks or things like that. Again, if you already have all these people and they are game, you could still tighten up that screenplay. And what do I mean? The idea of a soldier seeing a friend that's no longer alive, I think
Mhm.
is interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that there was a way to explain. I feel like throughout the movie, they're trying to lead you up to a situation that you'll learn how this happened and what led up to it. But by the time you kind of discover it, I feel like it's all a bit anticlimactic in the sense that there was a way to really like bring this home on an emotional level to really give a more layered story to how why is she seeing the not alive former soldier friend. I just feel like there was something better that could be done with it, and it was a good idea. It's probably sounded good on paper, but it just wasn't strong enough. So that's one thing, and I'm trying to think what else. There's also that they show stuff like a few scenes. I understand they don't have a high budget, but like they show a few scenes of like them in Afghanistan, supposedly on a base. I'm sure they did it like in their backyard, but it looks decent enough. I think that a little more from that setting would have also hit home harder. That and also to work out better the story with the friend and all that stuff. There was a way to do this better, but with all of that being said, I still think that the movie it's an important movie that was made, and I didn't think it was a bad movie. People asked if it's like IGN giving a 7. No, I think that I always take into consideration when a movie doesn't have a large budget, when it's kind of an indie movie, and what the goal is, what they're trying to achieve. It kind of reminds me of a few of the things. There was a movie that Angel Studios did called, I think, The Shift. What was it called? The Shift was basically their attempt to do a sci-fi movie,
Yeah.
and the sci-fi movie that they made, they had a $6 million budget for it. Now, obviously, when you want a sci-fi movie and you only have $6 million, it's probably not going to look like the kind of sci-fi movie you make for 100 or $200 million, or in the case of like Captain America, Brave New World, $500 million. Like you think to yourself, "Wow, they really went all in on this $6 million." I appreciate that kind of ambition, and the story is interesting. There's something interesting about that movie. I liked it, and yet still, like, there were flaws in it. So in that sense, when I take into consideration this, the amount of budget they have and what they're trying to accomplish, and their concept and their idea, I feel better about giving something like that a 7 out of 10, even though there were flaws, even though it wasn't perfect. And it's the same way I feel about this one with the vets. It's an important topic. They didn't have a lot of money. They're really making an effort to shed a light on it. For the most part, the movie does at least the minimum of what it's trying to do. Am I kind of nitpicky that it could have been a few levels above? It could, but it wasn't a bad movie.
Cool. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I would rather see, studios actually making an effort and doing forget about first of all, helping veterans and even raising awareness to charities and things like that is a great cause. I am all for it, and I'm happy about that. But at the same time, even if it didn't have that, I like the fact that there's studios that are going and making these small films because they think it's important. I have a lot more respect for something like this than some of those kind of hundreds of millions of dollars crap that we see.
Cool. Yeah.
So yeah,
I
just
guess this was produced by Legion M. Sounds like
does that mean anything to me?
uh, um, entertainment company, or maybe it was just Paul Scanlon, who's the head of that was involved.
No, I'm saying like, do I like? Is it like a known name? I didn't know anybody. I think that Briarcliff distributed it, but I don't think they produced it. If you know
Okay.
anything about the producers, tell me. I'm not saying it like as a wise
Yeah,
ass.
the
I just
production
don't
company
know.
is Legion M Entertainment. So that's a production company that is basically it's like a fan investment thing. Like it has a bunch of people like invested in it as sort of an indie production company for doing different stuff. Um, so they were the production
Are there?
a few things. Um, Several of them have been documentaries. Background story. There was one. William Shatner did his more recent sort of a documentary film. You Can Call Me Bill. That was one that they produced. Um, let's see, what else did Legion M do? Let's just see. Oh, Jay and Silent Bob reboot. That was a winner. um, yeah. Anyway, it was interesting that I saw that was part of it. They also did the biographical film Tolkien about about the life of J.R.R.
I
Tolkien.
I
Yeah,
mean, I'm considering saying I don't wanna spoil it, but, like I said, I think that the best thing I can say is that this would have really hit home if you had a little more gritty action of what they went through and why it would impact them this way, and then if you just
sure.
had a little more of that, and I think that there were several ways to really give the impression of why, being in Afghanistan is difficult, or why they could have trauma. I think that if they really brought that point home a little more, then things that later would unfold, or things that you find out, would actually make more sense and have like a more emotional impact. And I don't know, I just it sometimes annoys me when somebody has like a bunch of puzzle pieces that are actually correct, and they're sort of putting that puzzle together, but like they could somehow put it together even better. and
Sure. Yeah.
I'm nitpicky and annoying. What can I do?
Yeah. Not every movie is going to have the talent and everything there to be able to put all those pieces together perfectly. Sometimes you get projects that are a little rough because you got people who are inexperienced, right? They don't have
Right,
all that
right.
time. And maybe it was a combination of a few different things. But yeah, it sounds interesting. I mean,
If
yeah.
nothing else, I mean, when you see the movie, like when people were like, "Aren't you being harsh with Captain America: Brave New World?" and I'm like, "No, I'm not being harsh. They had $500 million between the production and marketing. At least they had like $500 million. If you have $500 million, that movie better wow me. It better be something spectacular. If you're
Well,
going to take $500 million and make Captain America: Brave New World, you have no respect. You have no respect for me.
half a billion, five different writers. They spent like 2.5 years, 3 years making the thing. Like, yeah, it ought to be good, right? It's-
There has to be something good about it. I mean, really, it was embarrassing. Like, I would be embarrassed if I had $500 million and that's what I spent it on. So, at least here, I can't say that to them. I can't say, "Oh, you had $500 million and that's what you did." They actually didn't have a lot of money, and they did a pretty decent movie. It's just like, you were almost there. You were almost there, but that's my personal opinion. Still think that this is an important movie. Um, certainly something that I think that would meet a lot, maybe to veterans and things like that. There's value here, and I'm thankful that at least those people on Rotten Tomatoes didn't give it a 0 because it has some
yeah.
soldiers in it and some
Yeah, it looks
PTSD.
like it looks like it really did uh, the circuit for all the different awards, all the different independent shows. It looks like it premiered at South by Southwest almost a year ago. So it's been out there doing those indie shows for a while.
Oh wow! There's some reviews here from March 14th, 2024.
Yeah,
Maybe it had trouble finding a distributor.
could be. Could be. Yeah, it was definitely doing the film festivals for a while, but it premiered at South by Southwest almost a year ago. So, but you know what? I want to see more independent projects like this. I want to see more voices bringing their talent and their passion to film rather than all of these sanitized, you know, just c- product by committee garbage, which is what we got with Captain America this past week. So, yeah, I would much rather see 15 of these films and have a few of them that really resonate with some audiences than one big budget film that's supposed to bring in $2 billion but is a completely empty and soulless product like Captain America was.
I agree. And by the way, it says that this is a dark comedy drama. I just want to make something clear. I wouldn't call it a dark comedy drama. I think that that's a bit of a stretch. I didn't find myself like even chuckling or anything like, which is why also I would have done it differently. I would have made like a little more suspense, a little more gritty. You know, there's a way of telling this story that it's still very emotional and has an impact. I mean, look at the movie First Blood. Don't laugh at me, but First Blood with Sylvester Stallone. He
Hmm.
goes through that whole thing, but at the end, when he has his like, when he breaks down, and you could tell the PTSD that he has. There's something that does actually. I'm not talking about the sequels, which are like more just fun action with Stallone. That first movie actually, I think that it did have some emotional weight at the end when you see what he went through, and they managed to achieve it, even though it's more of an actiony type of movie. I think that it didn't need to be an action movie. This one that I saw, but I think that there was a way to really do it better. That's, I guess, the best I can say. Drop the comedy thing. I would have made it that like the friend that he sees, it's like a lot more spooky, and like that the visions from like the trauma was be like a lot more like, you know I don't know, like rattle people. You know what I mean? I would wanted to make something that would pack a more like a bigger punch, but that's just me. What do I know? Nobody gave me millions of dollars. I mean, even though it's just probably a few, but nobody gave me that money to make a movie. So I guess I'm kind of like the Monday morning quarterback or whatever that's called.
Well, sometimes we need Monday morning quarterbacks.
That's all we could do. That's what we are. That's probably what we
uh When you said you got to go see an early, you were invited to see an early release or something, I was really hoping you were going to tell me it was The Cleaner.
Oh, that would have been great.
Is
Yeah,
that on your list for this weekend?
um, well, it's a really long story. I almost, found myself, although I didn't get the invite at the end, there was a possibility. Does Simu Liu have a movie coming out?
Oh, no idea.
I almost got
Hardly
invited
heard
to some movie
anything.
with Simu Liu. What was it? What does he do now? Like, there's some movie. Not he's not the star. There's somebody else.
Hmm.
Check what movies Simu Liu has coming up.
Let's see. Last Breath.
Yes, what's that one?
Survival thriller.
Who's in it? Who
Woody
else is in it?
Woody Harrelson, Finn Cole,
Yes,
Brooke
yes.
Curtis.
Okay.
Feature film remake of the 2019 documentary. Huh. Okay.
So yes, that one that you're talking about right now, I actually I almost got invited to it.
Hmm.
It's a very long story, but I ended
Yeah.
up not. And the thing is, had I gone to it, I think that it would have been the premiere and Simu Liu would have been there. And I wanted to like I don't even know what I would have done, but I thought that that was funny, but I wasn't invited to it at the end.
Hmm. Interesting. As just looking this up, I saw that Simu Liu also. He is slated to replace. He's going to be replacing Donnie Yen as the lead in a Sleeping Dogs film. So Sleeping Dogs was a really good adventure game uh, back on the PlayStation 3. And so it's actually it's coming off that property. I don't know if they're what they should do is just take that story and tell it in film. They shouldn't try to do something. They always try like, "Oh, we're going to make a movie out of a video game," but we don't want to tell the same story. It's like, "No, that story was really good. We would like to see that really good story done in live action." But they're always, "No, we got to do something different, whatever." No, Sleeping Dogs was a really good game. They should if they're going to make it, they should just take that story. I mean, it's an old game. Jeez, it's like this PlayStation 3, 2012. I mean, it's when that game came out. Yeah, just take the same good story, turn that into a 2-hour film. That might be fun. But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even know they were producing a Sleeping Dogs game. So
I didn't know either.
a Sleeping Dogs movie from the game. Sorry.
So yeah, so just a very long story short, I knew somebody from the people that were sort of planning that event to premiere, and once in a while, this isn't a blue moon that maybe if there's an extra, a lot of times there's like a premiere, but you still have to fill the premiere with people. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So once in a while, like it hasn't happened in a while, but once in a while, if there's a certain situation, I sometimes get an invite. So this was sort of on the table, but I guess it didn't. I didn't end up, actually receiving a ticket for it, so I didn't go. But yeah, I thought to myself, that's probably why it didn't happen. I thought to myself, I would bring like the Price of Reason puppet, and like I would have him like next to Simu Liu. That would have made me laugh, but I don't know how I would have worked that whole thing out. I probably wouldn't have done it. I just it would have been a funny thing for me to do. It would have amused me. But
Oh
yeah,
boy.
so I missed out on that one, but I did see the My Dead Friend Zoe
Yeah.
thing.
It's interesting. I mean, honestly, that sounds very interesting. Like I said, I do love a passion project, something that's clearly been made by someone who is an outsider, indie stuff. And it's not in. No, I don't love Shaniqua Martin Green, but I don't know. Could be something interesting and definitely something you'd want to support. You know, with soldiers. I've known many soldiers in my lifetime. I've from many different branches. I've known I have family who's served in the Marines. I have a family who served in the Coast Guard. I have friends who served in Army and Air Force. And all of them deserve our support, and especially those that have that have come back from combat with a lot of wounds that you can't see. You know,
for sure,
they definitely deserve our support.
and that's why I was also telling you that I like that somebody, the guy that made the movie, is actually a veteran himself. I like that somebody got up and said, "Hey, I have to make this movie. I want to raise awareness. I want to try to have people raise money for veterans and things like that in need." And you know what? There's nothing that is a good positive idea, and I like people that get up and wanna do something positive. I know we always talk about negative stuff. Most of the time I talk negative because all these studios annoy me, you know? I feel like the other day when I was, on especially when we were on, Mr. Brown Alliance, shout out to Mr. Brown, by the way. I think that there, I really, leaned into that, kind of was very unhappy about that Brave New World thing, but I was trying to explain to people that there's people that their whole lives. I back in the day studied film, and I really wanted to make movies, and that a studio comes and gives like some guy $500 million, and that's what he makes. I think that that's a disgrace. And
Mhm.
it's a disgrace to on an artistic level. It's our to the entire industry. It's a disgrace because think how many good movies you could make with real artists, with real merit, doing something, worthwhile, and at the end, that's what you do? I'm
Yeah.
not I mean, obviously, I'm not s first of all, let me tell you this, if you can't make your movie for, like, between 100 to $200 million, you probably shouldn't be making it. And really, if it's $200 million, it better be something really, really good. Because as even somebody in the chat here said, the guy that made Godzilla minus one, he did that with $15 million. So don't talk to me about $200 million. That guy for me is like the gold standard.
Yeah,
I would watch his $15 million movies. If that's the level of his movies, I'd watch more of them. That's the kind of level I want to see.
absolutely. Yeah. They're I feel like Hollywood just has completely lost track of the idea that they can make smaller movies.
For sure.
They are addicted to these blockbusters, that they think the only way they're really gonna pull in the money, the only way, and honestly, I think part of it is just a bunch of the executives. The executives wanna have their name on a picture that brought in $1 billion, right? And
Right.
so they wanna make these big, outrageous projects that are huge, and yeah, they're gonna do it's like, what if you made 10 pictures and all of those brought in 250 million, right? Like, you're gonna be way better off.
I
Like
agree.
trying to make something small that you're not gonna just completely just paint yourself into a corner like they have with, with this Captain America movie. There's not a chance in hell they're gonna make their money back.
Yeah, no, they're not gonna make their money
There's no
back.
way. I mean, if you look at the numbers, if you look at the weekend that they had, and they're real proud of the weekend that they had. At least they seem to be on the outside. But if you look at the weekend that they had, even their 4-day weekend, that is not a picture that is going to bring in 1.2, $1.5 billion. There's
No, it's
not a
not.
chance in hell. It's right on track for basically what I've been saying for a while, around four and a half.
That's what I
Four
thought
hundred and
also.
fifty million.
I kept saying between 400 to 500 million, and I think that that's the case. What'll happen now is that the second weekend, in my opinion, is gonna be a real significant drop,
Yeah, oh,
and
yeah, it's
what
gonna be at least 70% drop
so if the
second weekend.
first weekend or whatever it was, they said we made 190 worldwide or whatever it is, so the second weekend, they'll probably make, like, let's say, I'm saying I'm gonna be generous and say half of that, okay?
Yeah,
Which is very, very generous.
that's extremely generous.
They wish it was half of that, but let's just say that they make 50% the next one, so then they're making, like, 85 or whatever it is. So then you add that to the 190 whatever it was, you get like 275 million.
Mhm.
And maybe you have a few more weekends and you continue to drop. It's going to be more than 50, but you drop more and more. It's going to end up like what we were saying. I think we were both in agreement between 400 to 500. 500 would be considered a dream for them. 400, 450 seems more realistic, but that seems like what they're going to make out of it. And they're going to go and tell the press, well, it's great because we only made it on a $180 million budget, without ever mentioning the actual marketing costs and the fact that only the reshoots I think cost like 180 million. So yeah, this is a bunch of nonsense, and they're all going to run interference for them, and they're all going to protect them. And it's like I said, I think I was saying this at that thing that we did on Mr. Brown's channel, is that it took them about 4 or 5 years to admit that Rise of Skywalker costs like $500 million. And until today, it annoys me. It annoys me that they could get away with lying like that for years, even though because their whole spiel was, listen, Rise of Skywalker, you may not like it, you may call it a diminishing return, but it made money. And really, when you think about it, it probably didn't even make, at least not in its theatrical run, it doesn't seem like it even made any money.
No,
A
not
and if you even factor in some marketing cost, I would say that at least during theatrical, it lost. It was something borderline because it did make like $1 billion, but if it cost close to $500 million to make, or let's say 450 million, it needed to convincingly make like a maybe like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, whatever it was, billion dollars to break even. It made close to 1.1, very, very borderline. And again, we don't
yeah.
even know about the marketing. So, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is uh, they're going to continue. They're going to lie to everybody, in my opinion, and just give bogus numbers out. But I know what the real numbers are, and I know that they're not telling the truth. And this is never going to make back that money.
Yeah, well, here, let's, share my spreadsheet here. We'll just take a look at it. We'll do some spreadsheets live.
Okay, here you go.
So if we say this first weekend they made 193 million, let's say that
Okay.
we get a holdover of 50. That's super generous. But if we get a holdover 50% from the previous week, we get, 96.5. So if we super generously say they get a holdover of 50% every weekend going forward,
Right.
we count up, 7, 8 weeks.
I see where you're going with this.
We count up 7 or 8 weeks worth,
Yeah.
382 million. They haven't even hit 400. That's
The only
a really generous saying you get to keep, a 50% hold each week going forward. That's so yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all.
No, it's not good. And I'll tell you what, it's they'll maybe say, "Oh, it hasn't opened in this market, it hasn't opened in that market." But I still think that I can't imagine it doing. I think 400 to 450 seems to be like the ceiling of what it could do. If it makes more than $500 million, I will be really, really surprised. Really surprised. Like I won't believe it. But I think that four to 450 is a reasonable range that I think it's going to be. And yeah, like I said, they're going to find any which way to spin it. Yeah, that we only spent 180 million, we made money. They'll go with all of that. It's the same thing with that Rachel Zegler and that Hunger Games movie that that people were annoyed at me when I made that video. That basically the mainstream media was trying to tell people that the movie was a moderate hit. But the truth is that they kept saying that the movie cost $100 million to make, and because it made like $335 million at the box office, well, that means that it made $100 million, because 100 million times 2.5 is 250, and then there's the extra 100. What none of them ever mentioned was that there was like an $80 million at least marketing budget. So then the movie would have had to have made like 400 and something million to break even, which it didn't. So it actually lost money, but because of all the different like agendas that the media likes to push, and especially with their darling Rachel Zegler at the time, uh, they did everything in order to present it as a success, even though it was a failure. Did you know that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's that seems to happen all the time, where what Hollywood accounting, right? Yeah,
Very fishy. And you know
where
what
they have
annoyed me
to
the most?
yeah.
The weasels that came to like my video, and they're like, "You're lying. This is clickbait. You're lying that it did me." I'm like, "No, I'm not lying. I'm explaining it. I made a video explaining why the media lied, not me." And it's like, "You're lying. They said it was profitable." And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, "Why are you even watching this video, you dumb idiot?" But I can't say that. You know what I mean? On YouTube, it's not like Twitter. Even on Twitter, it's not that I answer everybody, but on YouTube, I really try my best. YouTube is a place that tests my nerves, because sometimes I have a video that I do, and people just leave comments that are like that the range. I don't mind if somebody watched the video and they don't agree with my review, which most of the time I just write to them, you know what? I am happy for you if you like this movie. I didn't feel the same way about it. Thank you for watching my video. I'm okay with that. But the one thing that really, really annoys me is when they don't actually watch the video and they're commenting based on a thumbnail. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could tell that they didn't even watch it. They looked at a thumbnail
Yeah, they
and
just
they're
yeah, just
responding to a thumbnail. If you're responding to a thumbnail and you don't know what I'm saying in the video, you have no business responding to anything. You should just leave and go somewhere else. Like the thumbnail reactors are like that. That really gets to me, because
but
it's so.
it's
That's the kind of.
YouTube comments, yay.
Yeah,
No,
I mean, but
jeez,
that's the kind of
yeah,
disrespect that I have an issue with. Like that they comment, but they don't even know what I'm talking about. You're
exactly.
lying. It's
Yep.
clickbait. Did you even watch the video? So yeah, Istophobos has an interesting uh, comment. Price of Reason Live marketing and print ads and ads for Captain Falcon have been estimated by some insiders as 250 million.
Oh,
It
yeah.
wouldn't surprise me.
My estimate was at least 200, just from seeing all of the advertising, the print ads, seeing, the posters and seeing all of the TV spots and stuff. Yeah, my estimate for that was at least 200 million, because it's not a small marketing thing. It's kind of like, everyone was talking about, they made so much money with the Wicked film. I was like, they spent nearly $400 million on marketing alone. So yeah, I'm sure they made a little money, but it's not as much as you think.
So a few things happened at the same time. First of all, Mary White says, yeah, they almost never take the marketing budget into consideration. Uh, I think there was something here. James Caserta said that price used to be the cost of chaos, I guess. Uh, and then Mary White also said that it's the Swiffers all over again. But the thing is that like that's the minimum. I have the minimum amount of respect for somebody who won't even watch the video. You want to watch the video and you want to talk about points that I said and try to argue maybe why you don't agree with them. I at least understand that you feel that passionate and you want to argue. I also get sometimes people that like they watch a video, there's a review, and then somebody just like, nah, bruh, you don't know what you're saying. It's like that's not an argument, and I don't want to fight, because on YouTube I feel like that's not a place that you get into these kind of discussions. I just want people to enjoy the videos, but like, nah, brah, you got it wrong or something like that. It's like, dude, write whatever you think. I mean, nah, brah, it's not like a comment. You know what I mean? That's not a constructive, comment regarding the video. Even when I review a movie, I explain why I don't like it. Like, nah, brah is not like gonna work here.
Yep. That's
No,
so
I recently saw a few of those, and
yeah,
really, that's, like, the stuff
yeah,
that annoys me. Like, I'm so calm, but, like, that actually annoys me.
yeah,
But I wanted to say that I just saw that Istophobos gifted 5 Price of
yes,
Reason live memberships,
yeah.
which is awesome. Thank you so much, man. Istophobos is a friend of the channel. Actually, I don't know if we'll get time today to talk about it. Was there, like, another airplane crash or something like that?
Oh goodness. There was a plane that landed and then rolled over in
I
in Canada. It was a plane from, I think, from coming in from Milwaukee, and landing in Canada. Was it in Toronto? I don't remember, but yeah, there was a plane that, thankfully there were no deaths in the crash.
Well, that's good.
I think there were 12 injuries. A few of them were a little more severe, but most of there were 80 passengers and crew, I believe, on board. And so, yeah, it apparently there. I have not seen actual video of what actually happened. I've seen a recreation of it, like a 3D model of it. So, like, it came in and then it tipped, like it turned too hard and it tipped and it rolled over. One of its wings snapped off and it just rolled completely over. And all the passengers that were being evacuated, the plane was just upside down. It's wild. It's amazing that no one was more severely injured. But
If we
I guess
get to
that's why
touch
they want
upon
you to
it,
put your belts on while you during the landing.
if we get to touch upon that subject, then maybe we'll have Istophobos give us a little bit because he had some insider information about that crash. But I wanted to first of all start off with with U.S. and Russia working to end the Ukraine war. Did you see such articles and headlines like that today?
I did see a bit of that today. Yeah, it's interesting to see, how quickly it seems to be moving forward. The previous administration seemed to have no other option except, just to throw money at it and think that somehow this much smaller force in Ukraine was magically going to be able to, uh, you know, turn the tide in some way against Russia, and was seemed very much opposed to any kind of negotiations over there. Which, to me, that's really disconcerting. I know that we had more than a few war hawks in the previous administration. I know that Trump is not a war hawk. And he's got a few people working for him that are also not war hawks. You have a lot of people, once they've served, they'll tell you, like, you don't want to be at war. Like, you don't want that. That's not ideal. That should be the absolute last resort. And uh Trump's a negotiator. He's a strong negotiator. And I hope, I'm very hopeful that there will be some kind of deal. I don't think Ukraine is going to get back its whatever 2015 borders or whatever that it thinks it's going to get back. I don't think that's happening. Uh, but there's part of the Ukraine that that area voted uh, rather to be part of Russia than Ukraine. Now, whether those votes were legit or not, I'm not an analyst in the area. I don't know, but it does seem like there's ethnically there's parts of the Ukraine that would just prefer to be part of Russia instead. But I don't know. We will wait and see what actually happens with this going forward. It was really interesting to see how much progress they were making today. Did you see any specific stories that you wanted to mention? Or
I was reading something, but I just I didn't know how. Let me see if I can find anything. I also was reading something that Trump, there's kind of tension between Trump and the president of Turkey, but I didn't know that. I guess like the president
Hmm.
of Turkey doesn't like what Trump is doing, but yeah, not necessarily that guy's biggest fan. Uh, let me see what I was looking at.
I did see a video of a bunch of members of Congress waving Ukraine flags in the House, I believe, or was it on the Senate? It was somewhere. Um, it's irritating.
So there's this thing I see here. Let me see if I can share it. You could have made a deal. Trump blames Ukraine after US Russia talks. Let me see if this plays something. I don't know.
It plays a Nike ad.
I didn't really need this Nike ad, but I silenced the music before it gets like clink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Before.
Some
Something happened.
crappy
Yep.
music sounded like elevator crap, but yeah.
Do you have any message for Ukrainians who, after 3 years of fighting, might feel betrayed or disappointed at not having a seat at these initial talks in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I think I'm really disappointed in what's happened. I've been watching this for 3 years. It's a war that would have never happened if I was president, and I've been watching these people being killed at levels that you've rarely seen, not even close, since the Second World War. And I'm very disappointed. I hear that they're upset about not having a seat. Well, they've had a seat for 3 years and a long time before that. This could have been settled very easily. Just a half-baked negotiator could have settled this years ago. When they're worried about not being seated, you mean somebody that should have gone in and made a deal a long time ago? You could have made a deal. This is one that could have made a deal. There was no talk of this during the Trump administration. Putin would have never, ever done it.
So what do you think? I didn't know that Ukraine was upset that these talks are happening.
Yeah, they're upset that they're not really part of the talks at this point. It's something that's been more directly, American Russian, interaction specifically. So yeah, they're not actually part of the talks at this point. But I think there's I think there's a reason for that. They don't want they want to try and see. I think Trump wants potentially to see how each side is actually feeling, like what kinds of things outside of the two of them just directly interacting with each other, like what kinds of things could we potentially do that would put an end to the fighting, like what kinds of compensation, or what kinds of different changes could be made that would satisfy these different sides. And I think the idea is pretty straightforward. We're going to go talk to them. We're going to talk to them about what they want. We're just not going to bring anything into recriminations and yelling back and forth between different sides. We're going to talk to one side and see how they're feeling about it. We're going to talk to another side, see how they're feeling about it, and then as a more neutral negotiator, kind of bringing the two sides together. And I think that's actually intentional, because if you're just saying, well, we're going to show up as the United States, well, guess what? The United States has given a hell of a lot of money to Ukraine. A lot of American weapons have been used to kill Russian soldiers. And so if you're just standing there saying, well, we're neutral, well, you're not, because we've given so much money to Ukraine. So if you're able to break these negotiations into smaller pieces, where you can talk to one group, and then you talk to another group, and then you find a way to pull those groups together. That's definitely one approach that you can take. Now, I have no inside knowledge as to exactly what's happening behind the scenes, why they're doing it the way they are, why Saudi Arabia was chosen, why the particular people on the U.S. side were chosen. So I don't have any inside knowledge of how these particular negotiations are being handled, but that to me would just seem like one particular strategy, and it's not one that's unknown, among like a business types like Trump, right? Where you kind of feel out the different sides, and then as a mediator in between them, trying to find a way to square that circle, right?
Yeah, for sure. I also, and I've told you this before, I've always had a strange feeling about this whole conflict. And one of the reasons that I always tell you is those guys, they speak the same language and they used to be part of the same country. And I think that they have a lot of their culture which is the same, a lot of the history. There's family members on each side of that. You have somebody that maybe they have people living in Russia and then their family members live in Ukraine. Uh,
Hmm.
it,
Yeah.
it is a situation. It's more like a type of civil war of sorts, meaning it feels like all this world involvement in it. I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand every aspect of that conflict. Uh, but as much as I can read about it and try to understand it, I think that if you don't live there and you don't live in that reality, you don't fully have the full picture. Which is why I've always been kind of I didn't say, "Oh, I love Russia in this. They have to like I wish they succeed." And I didn't look at Ukraine and saying, "Oh, Ukraine are the best. I really want them to succeed." I kind of looked at it and thought to myself, "This is a strange conflict. There's some kind of civil war between people, and I don't know how to feel about it." Sometimes when I don't live next to something and I don't live and breathe that conflict, I try to maybe not speak so much about it. I think, and this is just my personal opinion, that considering that it seemed like a more of a civil war-ish type of situation, the US got very, very heavily involved in that thing, and I don't know. And not only that, even things that the previous administration did, probably added fuel to that fire. They mishandled it. I don't know if they did it on purpose or not on purpose, but I wanna hope that they didn't do it on purpose, but I'm saying that that whole situation was mishandled, and even though Trump sometimes has a very kind of colorful way of speaking, I tend to agree that maybe if there was another president, in charge, even not him, maybe somebody else even, I don't think that they would have pushed this thing to the war. I think that the US had a chance to maybe try to help them, but I don't know how we ended up with this war and why the US had to give so much money for it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. If you talk to a variety of people, if you listen to a variety of people who are more insiders as to what was going on in various different agencies, we do know that there was a previous president in the Ukraine that was elected, and then he was basically chased out of office, and then Zelensky is in office, and now Zelensky has decided not to have elections uh, because they're at war, right? Even though many countries have had elections during wars, but we're not going to do that apparently. And then there's been, a few other strange, things that different aid agencies sending money into that country and how that money is managed. There's been a lot of accusations of some severe fraud happening on the Ukrainian end of things. You've got, somebody I can't remember who it was that was talking about, but they were like looking around in a fancy part of France, and they were looking at all these homes, and they found out there were all of these extremely expensive homes that were owned by Ukrainian generals,
It's very
right?
strange.
And
Yeah.
and there were people from there was another story someone was talking about, like they went on vacation in Vale, and there were like tons of extremely wealthy Ukrainians there. Like, I thought this country was at war. I thought, well, apparently there's some people who've been getting a lot of money from somewhere, probably your pocket, my pocket, but they,
Wait, are
I,
comments getting censored on a certain platform? People are saying in the chat. I don't know.
chat filtering, maybe talking about some of these things. It's entirely possible. Those things do happen. I did want to mention we got a raid from Nerd Wars.
Oh,
Welcome
wow.
everybody.
Nice. Thank you,
Yeah.
Nerd Wars. Nerd Wars, that's Erwin's channel. Erwin's is a friend of mine, and every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm on his show. I'm on his channel. It's a panel that we do with Angry Badger and with Erwin on Nerd Wars, and we do that every Thursday at 3 p.m. Really a good guy. I had this funny situation. We were doing some kind of stream. Man, I feel like I sometimes everything gets jumbled in my mind. Niat, comics explained. I forgot.
Mhm.
I know him, but I'm trying to think of. I think that's what his channel is called. It has
Yeah.
like 1,000,000 subs. So in
Yeah.
any case, basically he did some kind of stream, and he invited me. We were talking about Galaxy Quest.
Oh, yes, I saw that. I was quite jealous. I love that film.
So yeah, that was a fun stream. And at the end of it, basically, Mia was asking me, "Hey, tell people what streams you're on." And I just gave a bunch of streams, and Erwin from Nerd Wars is right next to me on that panel. Next to me, not physically, but in the squares. And I just forgot, and I didn't say that at 3 p.m. on Thursdays I'm on Nerd Wars, and the thing ended. And the second the thing ended, I suddenly remembered that I didn't remember, and I told him, "Man, I'm so sorry." He's like, "Yeah." He was sitting there like in the movies, like waiting for the cue of like, yes, like I'm on the stream, and that was the only stream that I forgot to tell people about. So I was really embarrassed. But
Well, but he was there,
right, I
right?
told him you could have mentioned, but I
Yeah,
guess
why didn't that's his
I
stream.
I
He
guess he
didn't
was waiting, like, instead of for him to plug himself, like I was supposed to say it. Listen, I was talking about streams I was on. I could have said something. So in any case, I did feel bad about that. But in case you guys don't know, then every Thursday at 3 p.m. I'm on that stream, and yeah, I said film comics explained. Is that what did I call it?
No, I think you said the right thing.
Oh, okay. I think I said
Film
it
Comics
right. Yeah.
Explained. Yeah,
Well, I
FCE.
know Niat, so like I didn't I thought his name is different than the channel, you know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
actually been on a few streams with him prior, so I didn't realize all of that. But yeah, that was a nice stream, and Galaxy Quest, that was a fun movie to talk
Oh,
about, and yeah,
such a fun movie. I like. Unfortunately, I had to be in and out all during that stream, but I was every time I came back, I was like, "Oh, I love this part. I love this part of the movie."
yeah, it's a good movie, and
Yep.
yeah, I wanna thank Irwin for sending people our way. So
Yeah,
just wanted to throw that out there,
definitely. So yeah,
and
as far as the Ukraine, bringing it back to Ukraine and the
yes.
negotiations and everything, honestly, I'm quite encouraged that they've started this process. I don't think it's something that it's going to be over in the next week. It's going to take time. Uh, some people, there's various opinions in the chat. I've seen some people saying, "Oh, this whole thing is a scam." And honestly, would agree with you on a lot of that. I think there's a lot of it that has been very fishy. There's also, saying, well, Russia could end it today because they started it. Well, yes and no. There's a political price to pay if they just say, well, we're packing up and leaving, right? And after all these people have all these soldiers have been lost, and uh, there's a political price to pay. They're not going to do that, right? So you've got to try and give Putin and his generals some kind of way to save face. uh,
Yeah,
that they
Putin's not gonna
they
just
didn't just
right.
walk away empty-handed, that they achieved some objectives that they had, whatever. And on the other side too, with Ukraine, they're not just going to say, "Okay, we give up," right? They're not going to just let Russia have anything they want. There's going to have to be some conditions that are set up and everything. But I do agree that there's been quite a bit of very fishy things going on there. The outrageous amount of money that's been sent over there, and all the military hardware and all the stuff that we've sent over there is, all of that is very uh, just it's very suspicious, right? When you see so much of that stuff going over there, but
For
it's
sure.
yeah, I am hopeful that maybe that this conflict will be coming to an end soon. And yeah, no, I think one of the conditions Jamalama said, no NATO for Ukraine. No, I absolutely think that will be one of the conditions, is that NATO will have to agree that Ukraine will not be admitted into NATO. That's been one of the catalysts for the whole thing. I think for quite some time was there were discussions about that, and Russia wanted a sort of a buffer state in between, so they wouldn't have to directly deal with NATO in some ways. So I also think what they really hoped in the end was they were going to get a puppet state out of it. Uh, they didn't get that, but we'll we'll wait and see. I would not be surprised though if they are at the negotiating table within the next few weeks, and maybe Trump is able to put this behind him before his 100 days. are up.
That would be actually really great. By the way, for people that are joining this stream from whatever platform, uh, please make sure if you're, on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to like this stream and subscribe, that's great. We appreciate that kind of stuff. And whether if you're on Rumble, I know that some people watch it through an app. So if you feel, if you like the stream, you should also consider signing up for Rumble, which is sort of it's free. I mean, there's a few different tiers, but there's a free tier. You could definitely sign up, and then if you sign up, you should also follow us. So just throwing that out there for people. I know from a few different platforms that are watching, and yeah, we like that kind of stuff here. But back to what you were saying, I think that at the end of the day, I don't know. I will always think that it's very strange that the son of Biden was so involved with Ukraine, and then there was this whole Ukraine thing. I mean, sure, it could be a
Yeah.
coincidence, I suppose, but it's very strange.
Well, you'll remember that a certain somebody got a pardon.
Oh, yes, I did, and he got it all the way back from when he ever talked to those Ukrainians, so all very
Yeah.
weird. And you know what's funny? I remember how they were all like, "Oh, the Trump, he talked to, like, the Ukrainians, and he was saying about Biden's son," and they were all upset at him. "Why did he say that to them? Why did he say that to them?" And the truth is, I don't know, maybe he had a reason to say it. I mean, after I see all those pardons and all those things, what were they so upset about him?
Hmm.
What were they so upset about?
Well, you're not supposed to say the quiet part out loud, which is that lots of politicians are corrupt and members of their family are corrupt. And,
But wasn't there
you know,
such a thing that Trump asked a question? Like, he asked a question about, Biden's son, and everybody's like, "That's a no-no. How dare you?" Right? There was something like that.
oh, there's always stuff like that.
He was on a call or something, and he asked a question, and everybody was upset at him, but they made a federal case out of this for years.
Yeah, there was the whole deal where they at one point where in during Trump's first term, he essentially was asking them to investigate, to continue and investigate Hunter Biden, which the whole thing that there was an investigation, and Joe Biden went over there and said, "Well, you're not getting your aid unless you shut down the investigation." And they fired the guy who was in charge of the investigation. And so then, when Trump was in office, he said, "I want you to continue that investigation." And then they said, "Oh, you're quid pro quo. You can't do that. You can't say the aid is tied to some investigation of a political rival, whatever." Of course, Joe Biden was king of investigating political rivals. And when you tie it back, it's like, yeah, he did the same thing. He wasn't even president then, right?
Right.
Uh, he said, "Stop investigating Burisma, stop investigating my son, and you'll get your money." He even admitted to that publicly. He said it in an interview
Yeah.
where he talked about it. So it's always been very sketchy. But yes, of course, all of that Burisma stuff and him working with Burisma, that all started in 2014, the year that the pardon, that retroactive pardon or whatever, starts. So clearly, the whole point was to make sure that he could not be uh, targeted for any kind of investigation or any kind of, uh, you know, any kind of criminal charges because of that. Oh,
Uh,
Kivo.
Kivo, 1961, with a $5 Rumble rant. I think today the Ninth Circuit here in California struck down Biden's pardons.
Hmm.
First of all, thank you for the Rumble rant,
Yeah. Thank you for
Kivo.
the Rumble rant.
Thank you very much. Did you
Let's
hear something like that? I didn't hear that they
let's
struck.
see. I'm gonna jump
It's
over
interesting.
here.
It's certainly interesting. I mean, he did give a lot of pardons and just like these kind of blanket pardons forever. I mean, wouldn't be completely unreasonable that somebody would strike it down, but
Okay, I'm looking to see here. I'm seeing one fact checking site that says that these claims were made on Facebook, and that they are false.
I see. All right.
I wouldn't be surprised if in time there are some challenges to those pardons, but I just don't think that that is particularly on the short list of things that Trump and his team are really trying to get done right now. So
And yeah, I mean, so I guess when it comes to this whole Ukraine thing, just to sum it up, it seems like Trump is more serious about resolving this conflict, and I think Trump also doesn't want to continue to send money over there. Whatever's been going on with Biden and with all these things and aid and everything, it feels like Trump wants to go in a whole different direction.
absolutely, he does. He is not interested in continuing to fund the war in Ukraine for $500 billion every 6 months or whatever. Like, I mean, it's been so much money that has been sent over there. It's been insane. I don't actually have a full accounting of it, but I wonder here.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's this kind of feeling that how did we ever get involved in that whole situation? It's like I said in that specific one, but I don't know. Let's hope that he can put it to rest. I saw something. I don't know. Maybe this had to do with the Middle East thing. That I guess the president of Turkey. I was reading that he's kind of there's sort of a growing tension between him and Trump, but yeah, I don't know. That president of Turkey, it's not a dictatorship, but yet that guy has been president for like 70 years. At the beginning, it was like the prime minister or something. Then he said he was the president. It feels very Putinish. You know what I mean?
It does. It seems really weird. Yeah, we're out there. We're fighting to defend democracy, supposedly, when there's a guy who's basically canceled democracy in his country. So,
Right.
uh,
So,
not ideal.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've always found that Turkey, there were years that it was actually a really great place, and ever since that, their current, I guess he's now the president or whatever he's supposed to be. He's been there for a long time, and I feel like he's the one that really wanted to make things more traditional, make the women cover up. He brought that kind of change there, and I'm not sure that change was good. And anytime there's sort of a resistance to him, the resistance seems to kind of be taken care of, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. It's- People in the chat talking about preemptive pardons. Big ship preemptive pardons are hilarious. Yes, they are hilarious. Quite frankly, I think they should be. They should not be allowed. They should not be allowed for any president ever. The very idea of a preemptive pardon is absurd.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
surprised. Have we really seen a lot of cases like that prior? I don't remember like
no,
people million
no,
these preemptive
we've
pardons.
never seen it. Never.
That was really stretching, I think, the limits of what you could do as a president.
It
But
is, and I think that perhaps in time there might be a pushback on some of those, and to say that no, that you do not get the right to just preemptively dismiss anyone who may have committed a crime. Like, you can, after the fact, after that crime has been investigated and that person has been charged, then you can pardon that, whatever, and say, no, they don't do jail time, or no, they, it's a complete pardon. These charges never existed, whatever. But to simply say, oh, you know what, I'm just going to decide that this person over here is immune from being prosecuted for any crime that they might have committed during a period, even though it's never been investigated and no charges have been brought. It's beyond the pale, frankly. And the thing is, if you go back and you look, if you went and looked at the hand wringing that was going on at the end of Trump's term, his first term, the Democrats, leftists, progressives, they were wringing their hands over, "Oh, is Trump gonna write preemptive pardons for him and his friends? Because then we won't be able to investigate them. Is he gonna do
Right,
this?"
I remember
This
that.
and then saying that this is absolutely outrageous. He should not be allowed to do preemptive pardons and whatever. But then when it's Biden's turn, when he's, leaving office, Trump's coming back, they're like, "Write those pardons. These are the right things to do. He's a father. He should definitely write pardons for people." For his children. Oh, and these people are going to be prosecuted by Trump, so we need to protect them from prosecution. No, no, you let the prosecutions go through, and if they're fake, then it doesn't work. There's actually the charges don't
Right.
stick,
A lot of
and
people seem very worried there, yeah,
yeah, it's
for
it's
some reason.
it's ridiculous. And the truth is that if you're so worried about Trump coming after his political enemies, he didn't during his first term. He said, "No, I'm not going after Hillary. That's a distraction." Yeah, I talked about that, sure, but no, I'm not doing that. So there's not even a template for him to actually follow to say, "Yep, I'm going after my political enemies." So, I mean, it's all just so ridiculous.
It was
And
way over the top, whatever
yeah,
how
the
it was handled. See, if it would have been that, like, Biden would have said, "Well, my son," like, there was a few that one charge or whatever it is that they did bring him to court. If he said something like that and I wanted to just commute a sentence or whatever, fine, whatever. But the fact that it's, like, from 2014,
yeah,
man, that's
a
strange.
decade's worth of time, like, "Oh,
Man,
well, if he
that's that
committed any nonviolent crimes, he's pardoned for all of that."
he's committed, like,
It's
yeah,
like,
that was already the part that really, is like, raises eyebrows. Tim Hayes says, "I heard in Turkey they let their women walk around topless." Actually, they don't. I don't think that Turkey is the place for women walking around topless. I think that probably the opposite is true in Turkey. I've been to Turkey twice. Have you ever been to Turkey?
"Oh, no."
I've been there twice, and I went, like, I think that over the years it's gotten worse in the sense that it used to be a place that was, I think, much more, you know, not as I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. He made it more religious and more kind of traditional. Before his rise to power, I think that it was actually a more modern and more kind of democratic place. That was the way it was going, and he kind of took it back. He dialed it back. And when I went, I went like already I think we're talking about 15 years ago, and then maybe 13 years or something like that. I went and I already started feeling the change. I mean, it's a nice place if you just go there, and you're there. It's a nice place,
Mhm.
and there was some good food there, and it was. I didn't hate being there, but especially I think when I was at the airport, in both times, I don't know that there's something about it that made me feel weird.
Yes, unfortunately, yeah, a lot of there's been a lot more, at least as I understand it. I've not been there, but as I understand it, there's been a lot more uh Islamist thought that's
Yes,
been
yes,
taking over
that
in
seemed
areas
it
in
didn't used to
Turkey.
be that's the thing that it used
Yeah.
to be a place that was actually cool, you know
It
what
it
I
was
mean?
a much it used to be a much more secular country. Yes.
Yes,
It
and
did.
he wanted to kind of take it back, dial it back to the more kind of, quote, unquote, "traditional," I don't know what word I'm looking for, and yeah, and I think both times in the airport, I mean, there was one time where, like, there were, like, I don't know, like, maybe 10 soldiers or something like that standing there, and I was online, I was, like, about to get on a plane, and then they, like, said, like, "Sir, like, come with us." I don't know, when I looked at these soldiers, and I guess it was, like, a random thing, but, man, I don't know how to explain it to you. The vibe I got wasn't good.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
And yeah, there's been more pressure on women's rights and stuff like that there as well in recent years. So, yeah, it did used to be a much more reliably secular government, right? It's still it's always, or for a very long time anyway. It has had a majority of Muslims living there, but it used to be, at least as far as the government was concerned, it's been it was more secular. But yes, since especially since, what's his name? Erdogan?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
since him, that, there's been a lot more of that, more religious, extremism, religious,
He's definitely brought that
piety
flavor into
stuff
there.
into the government and
Eraserhead
the
is
law.
asking, don't people only go to Turkey to get cheap hair transplant? You're absolutely right. There's like a few clinics there that give like from all the world, I guess they give the cheapest rates for hair transplants. And you have a lot of people that actually go to Turkey for that hair transplant. But I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong necessarily with going there. Like I said, I've been there twice, but it's been some time since I've been there. And if you told me today, hey, how do you feel about going to Turkey, like to hang out? It wouldn't be my first choice. I actually, first of all, I've seen it. It's fine. Like I think I'm good. But at the same time, like I think I felt the tide turning when I was there, and the tide has turned much more today. So I don't know. Maybe you go there and 99% chance, 90 something percent chance you'll be fine, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. There's
Mhm.
other places that I'll go before that. Even though these days I don't even know where to go. You know what I mean? Europe, there's so much trouble there. It's like all these places have become really problematic. Maybe I
Yeah,
go to Japan. You know, Japan sounds cool. I've never been there, and I heard it's nice. I would go to
yeah,
Japan because I like sushi, and the sushi there probably is fantastic. I mean, I can only imagine the type of sushi that I'd be eating there. Just for that alone, I'd go. Plus, like the Japanese take their business very seriously. It feels like it's really probably an experience to go there. Something like a different culture, something interesting,
yes.
and yeah, and it's not like they're not like bums, you know what I mean? Like the usually that place is kind of it's probably
Yeah.
gonna be an interesting
Yeah,
place.
it's a lovely country, it's very interesting,
Did you go there?
historically no, I've never actually been there, I would love to visit. It's definitely on my bucket list. We do have my wife has a colleague and friend, that we've had several discussions with, that, she's sort of told us because she's from Japan, her parents still live there. She goes back several times a year to visit and care for her parents, she lives here in the States. And, yeah, several times we said, "Oh, we'll have to go with you. We'll have to go with you sometime so you can show us around." And, we had a few discussions, about what that would be like. If you want to know, she actually recommended a few different resources, and I was poking around on YouTube, and there's a few different YouTubers that are over in Japan and talk about what it's like to be an expatriate, what it's like to live over there as an American and stuff, and it's pretty funny to hear some of the things that you didn't realize were going to be such an adjustment for people visiting Japan. If we're or going to live there. For one person was telling me, or was in this video, sorry, that I was watching. One person was saying that you don't just strike up conversations with people in a store or on a bus or something like that. That they're very private. They're like interacting with people in public is very strange. And so, like, if you instantly want to put a Japanese person on edge, just start talking to them about the weather or something out of nowhere. Just it's like talking to strangers is like this thing you just don't do, right? So
I didn't
it,
know I
it
did.
but it does seem like a really lovely country, and I've heard the people are very very kind people. They're just a little wary of of strangers and stuff sometimes from other places,
I,
and also and this was told to us by our friend. When you go there, uh, buy scentless deodorant. Like, they can't stand, like, the really perfumey smells, like, body sprays or really perfumey deodorants and stuff. Like, you just don't smell like anything. Because if you're really perfumey or have a really strong odor from sort of deodorant or something, you're gonna, like, chase people off.
oh, I didn't know that.
And
It's
oh,
a
yeah, and it's you and sometimes like, in certain restaurants, they'll be like, you can't come in here." Like, because they think, like, the smell is going to, like, interrupt other people in the restaurant being able to have their dinners. It's weird.
um Istofobo says I've lived and worked in Japan. Well, that's good to know.
That's cool.
I've only I think in Asia, I'm trying to think where I've been. I was in Thailand and I was in Laos. I mean, I've been to India, but that's a different, I'm thinking more you know,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, Thailand and Laos, those are the places that I've been.
Mm.
And they seemed less like that was more when I was younger, and like I feel like it was more of like a traveling kind of thing. But I think that now where I'm at now, I think like a Japan would be cool. I am curious. I've never been to China. I would be curious to know what it's like there. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's okay to travel there. I haven't traveled there, but it's not the first thing on my list. But just kind of to expand my horizons, I wouldn't mind just seeing what it's all about. But Japan, I think, would be even higher on my list. I That's a place that I think I want to see. Singapore, I've heard good things, but I don't know. But yeah, those are good things. Have
Mm.
you been to some places in Europe?
No, I've actually never traveled outside the United States. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, as a young person, growing up, my family was actually quite poor. So, if we took a vacation, it was a big deal because we just didn't have money to do that kind of stuff. We went to Disney World once when I was younger, and that wasn't until I was much older. Uh, I was a teenager by the time we got to take that trip. But we made it, and my mother took really good care of our finances and stuff. But yeah, it was we were really poor when I was younger. So no, there was not a lot of travel, and certainly not overseas. So yeah, it's only been in the last few years, after settling into my career and my wife settling into her career and stuff, that we've started to have more money that we can start to do trips like that. So we're definitely planning a few things here in the near future. So
I think only as an adult I did more kind of traveling, more as an adult, even a young adult, I would say. I was in Amsterdam.
yeah.
That was pretty nice. I haven't been there in many years. I feel like today, if I went to all these places, they'd be annoying. But at the time, like, because a lot's happened over the past, few decades. You know what I
True.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Man, the with all of the crackdowns on speech and stuff over in Europe, I'm not even sure I'd want to travel there right now.
right. That's what I'm saying. That
It's
places that in the past were like cool to go, now like I don't know how I feel. Like the way they're cracking down on free speech, that's not very welcoming. So yeah, I was also in London twice. But yeah, London also they keep cracking down on free speech and doing all this weird stuff.
Mhm.
You know what? I'm happy that at a younger age, I was a young adult, but like I was already an adult. I managed to see a few things. So I did, I did a few trips in Europe to a few different places. I like I said, I was in Asia in those places, and it's so great because when you do something when you're relatively young, you can do stuff that later becomes a much bigger deal to do. Like now it would be much more difficult for me to start getting up and going to all these places. And like you said, the way things are going on in the world, I'm not even as excited to do it. But the fact that at the time, I didn't have I was at a point in my life where I could just do it. And the other thing is that some of the trips I took were very kind of low budget. Like, when I
Sure.
think about, like, my Amsterdam and the ones with Asia and all that stuff, like, those were very low budget kind of situations, and they're the kind of situations that you could do when you're younger. I'm not saying I couldn't do them today, but when you're, like, in your early 20s and you're like, "Yeah, I'll take a backpack, I'll travel here, I'll travel there. How do I stay in, like, a cheap place or whatever?" But when you're already an adult, I think that you don't love that as much.
Yeah.
You get
It's
what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, I had some friends that they did sort of the, like, backpacking through Europe kinda thing where they stayed in hostels, stuff like that. So, as an adult, like, you can't really do
yeah, I wouldn't do that. Exactly. As a young, like somebody in my early 20s or whatever it is, and you say, "Hey, do you want to go to this hostel? Do you want us to like?" There were places, when I was in India that like my quote unquote hotel room would be a room, where like there's concrete and I sleep on the floor.
Yeah.
That was a real, place that I stayed.
Yeah. Well, as I say, when I was younger, that really couldn't afford vacations. About half the time we went anywhere, we stayed with people we knew. We couldn't really afford hotel rooms. It's like when we went to Disney World, we had friends in Florida and we slept on their
Hey,
couches
you
and
make it
stuff
work. You make
because
it
that's
work.
all I could really do.
I'm happy I went to Walt Disney World when I was a kid because I feel like today, like everything isn't the way it was. I feel like as a kid, uh, it was still like more manageable to actually go on vacation there,
Yeah.
and I
Oh,
feel like
now it's wildly expensive, and it's all catered now to these Disney adults. They
right.
barely even care about the kids there anymore.
Yeah, it's very strange. I went at a time where, again, like I said, I feel like all the things that I needed to see, or a lot of them, I went at a time and at an age where I could really enjoy them. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if did I ever tell you this, that in India I was once at a place, you know, I wouldn't even call it a motel. I don't know what to call it really. It was another one of those situations. I was like sleeping, I think, on on a floor of sorts or something like that, in some like somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And there was a guy like a local that he was like it was his operation, that quote unquote the motel or whatever you want to call it. So while I was sleeping, there were actually mice just walking around. Just I suddenly wake up and there's a bunch of mice just walking around me, and then I went to the guy. I got up and I went to the guy and I said, "Look, there's a real problem." And he's like, "Oh, what is it?" And I'm like, there's a bunch of mice in my room." So he looked at me and he's like, "Ha ha 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 ha," ha," and then he walks away. That was his response.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly like I made him laugh. Like I told him a funny joke. You know what I mean? That I would even think that he would bother doing something about the mice that are walking around there. I'm like the idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's what you could do in your early 20s. You can sleep in a room with a bunch of mice, but you can't,
Yep.
right now, if you ask me to sleep in that room with mice, I really don't feel like it.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do that. Thanks. Yeah. It's Phobos when the chat was saying first time we went to Disney World, those tickets were $7. Yeah, trust me, we've tried to price out a Disney vacation. We're actually planning probably to do Orlando not this coming summer, but the following summer, and probably not even going to go to Disney World to be honest. Probably just going to stick to Epic Universe at oh, what is that?
Universal?
Universal Studios, yeah, Universal
Yeah,
Studios.
I've been hearing good
Probably gonna
things
stick
about it.
mostly to that, and, because I mean, we talked about it, we're like, kids, we can do both, we could do a day at Disney World, we could do a couple day what you and they're like, "No, I wanna do all these I wanna do all these cool things at Epic Universe, we wanna go to Super Nintendo Land and the Harry Potter thing," and we're like, "Hey, that's fine with me. That sounds great." I don't really want to give my Disney my money anyway. And it's just like for tickets, like for the park hopper tickets for four of us for like a few days, it's like $900. It's insane.
Crazy. Yeah, they've really
Oh,
outpriced people in this place. By the way, Joshua Calkins, he's been a member for 1 month. He's a member of the Leapers. That people that are members on this channel are considered Leapers.
yeah. And Matt Cat's in the chat. Hey there, Matt Cat. How you doing?
Oh, Mad Cat is here. Hey,
Yeah.
what's up, man?
Oh, Eraserhead, yeah, B-sides meetup. Yeah, hey, if everyone wants to meet wants to also come to Orlando next summer, I will be there.
I once did a meetup.
Oh yeah.
I think I was like in Portland, Maine, and I was sitting in a place, and I posted that within the next 30 minutes I'm going to be at this location in Portland, Maine, or something like that. And then nobody, I did it as I was sitting down there. I did it, and nobody showed up.
Huh.
To be fair, I didn't really give them much of a chance,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I did try. I mean, the thing is, if somebody would have showed up, I would have been there. Even though I'm, like, confidential, you know?
Yeah.
I would have honored the meetup.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Phobos, do Epic Universe. Yeah, no, that's the plan. We're planning to do that next. We thought about doing it this summer when it opens, but it was a little too much for us to work out. Plus, it's my wife and I's 25th wedding anniversary will be this summer, so we're gonna try and do something a little more low key than Disney World or Epic Universe. But yeah. Oh, look at that.
So, yeah, this was it. This happened in November 25th, 2022, and I said, "Meetup alert for the next 5 minutes, I will be at Gilbert's in Portland, Maine. Come say hello." Not one person showed up for this.
Well, nobody was within 5 minutes driving distance, so unfortunately they couldn't get there in time. They showed up a few minutes too late, and you'd already left with your chowder.
I wanna tell you that chowder at that restaurant was really good, and
Oh, I
nobody's
mean,
paid
no,
me.
yeah, if you're in New England,
No,
yeah.
nobody's paid me to say that. Like, they're they Gilbert's have not sent me a check, like, 2 years later. Nobody's paid me to say that. That chowder was really good. Uh, it was super cold. Like, chowder when it's cold is great, especially when the chowder is, like, amazing. That's just
Mhm.
I don't know. They're good at that kind of stuff there. I am so happy with that chowder that I had. I just regret that nobody came to hang out with me. I was wondering, I'm like, what if somebody shows up? And I almost wanted that to happen, but you know,
I was chatting with somebody else in the green room, the other day, and they mentioned they were living in Maine now, and I was like, "Oh, man, yeah, lobster." He was like, well, unfortunately, I don't like lobster." I'm like, "What?"
that's the worst. To live in Maine and not to like lobster, that's like I don't
That's a
know. There's a
that's a
lot of metaphors.
curse. Yeah, that's
There's a lot of metaphors I could use. There's some of them are very naughty, but I will not use the naughty ones. And at the end of the day, it's it's not good to be in Maine if you don't like lobsters because there's so many good lobsters to eat there.
Yep.
It's not cold chowder, it's hot it's warm chowder. It's like clam chowder, and they have different kind of bisques and whatever it is. Really good stuff. And, I think that when I was there, I just wanted to eat something light. I'm like, "Oh, I'll have this chowder and I'll have this thing." I tried to order as light as I can, but man, did it feel heavy. It was fantastic, but
Oh, yeah.
it's
Oh,
like
chowder's all good.
yeah,
Chowder is
chowder is
always
like
gonna feel kinda heavy.
I think that in addition to the chowder, I took something else, and that was my big mistake because I should have just focused on the chowder. Once you have chowder there, that's enough. That's like your meal. You don't need the other thing. And I'm like, what if I add some calamari or whatever it is? Big mistake. Like, don't do that.
Yep. I agree, Adam. Crab, greater, better than lobster. Yes. I'll if you're gonna offer me one or the other, I'm gonna take crab. I much prefer crab. Lobster's enjoyable. I do like lobster, but yeah, crab is where it's at for me.
So I have nude. Says, bro, you got to give us some notice. Yeah, it wasn't enough notice. It would have been funny if there was somebody that was there. Like that would have been great. Like if that happened. Once I think I almost did a meetup in New York City too. I was gonna say that I'm like on a bench at Washington Square Park for the next like 10 minutes, but I didn't even do that. I'm just like I don't think I did though. I don't think I did it. So yeah, that would probably be my only meetup.
Well, hey, you know what? If you're gonna meet up with Mark Hamill,
So, what
you might
makes
want to
us
bring a
love
belt.
cinema so much that we're all gathered here to celebrate tonight? For me, it's that films create worlds so vivid and stories so powerful that we lose ourselves in them completely.
Lose his pants. Yeah.
Cinematic landscapes that feel alive, whether they're set here in London or anywhere. So,
I mean, what I was telling people is that weird shit can happen to a person. And sorry, Sean. And the thing is that if Mark Hamill was just like the good old Mark Hamill used to be, and that happened, we would all just have like a nice chuckle about it and whatever. It's just somehow he's so pompous these days. So when you see it, there's kind of like a feeling of like, like I don't know, it's a bit funny. But honestly, I don't really know how that wardrobe malfunction happened to him. But I don't know. It's not such a big deal. It's silly, but it's not like
Well, it's just, like, happening up in front of everybody during that presentation.
yeah. But
That's
at least he was lucky he had that podium.
yes, it's
What people I don't know, did you see, I posted it on the live channel, actually. I didn't do it on my main channel. See, this live channel, sometimes if I have a video that I'm kind of doing very quickly and it's less, polished, it's just kind of something that I throw together and put on here. Did you see that David Tennant thing?
yes, I did.
You
I
saw the
did.
video of David Tennant?
Yeah. Oh, boy.
So let me
Yeah.
see if I can find this thing.
Yeah, we'll also need to talk about some Doctor Who here in a little bit. Speaking of David Tennant, yeah. Oh, boy. That's going off the rails.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I'm just trying to find where is that thing with, Mark Hamill that I had it here?
You know, the
It's
the big Oh, go ahead.
no, go on, go. What
No,
were you
I
gonna
was
say?
just I was gonna say the biggest curse, for me is that I absolutely love seafood. I love crab, I love lobster, I love all sorts of stuff. Even I grew up just loving catfish. Uh, everyone else in my house hates seafood, so I can only ever have it when I'm, like, out grabbing a lunch by myself or I cook something for myself
Why
at
do they all
home.
hate seafood?
They don't like it. They don't like it. My wife has never liked seafood, and then, like, the kids just, like, they won't try it. They don't want it's so, yeah, it's just, like, whenever we do anything, it's if I end up at a restaurant or something and I have the option of seafood, I'm like, "You guys are gonna have to tough it out because 'cause I'm getting I'm getting the lobster. I don't care if it grosses you out." Or I have to just make it for myself at home. But yeah, yeah, it's quite the downer for me.
So I think here, I wanted to show this clip. This is prior to Mark Hamill dropping his shorts or whatever it is. Um, Let me see if I can share it. Uh, Start sharing. Oh, it's another one of those things that it doesn't do it.
Oh no.
Let me see. Why does that happen sometimes?
I don't know. I think it's just some glitches that sneak into the Rumble Studio.
Well, I guess I'm gonna have to. I
You
hope
do
you have
that,
the
or you
main.
can you can try and just share the link with me, and I can see if I can pull it up.
Let me. I'll come back. Tell jokes. I'll come back in a
Oh,
second.
tell jokes. Okay, jokes. I'm gonna Google. Tell me a joke. It's not working. Here's Bryce. He's coming back. Here. Oh, okay. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field.
Okay, let's see if
Dun-dun-ts.
I share this thing. Share. Did it work now? So I was giving some commentary about David Tennant. Maybe I'll just leave.
Yes. He was trying to give some commentary.
Yeah, let me see. I'll do it like a higher speed playback speed. Let's do like 1.5. About the movie The Apprentice. Now, for those of you who don't know, The Apprentice is a movie that somebody thought they would make and release during an election year. It's pretty low budget. It stars Sebastian Stan as Donald Trump. And apparently in the movie, they present Trump as a guy who likes to serve women grape juice. And I think part of the joke David Tennant was telling here was how Trump actually hadn't watched the movie because the movie has an adult rating. It's for adults, and Trump only watches Nickelodeon or something like that.
Donald Trump, of course, says he hasn't seen The Apprentice. because it's a 15. It's not on Nickelodeon.
I think that's what the joke was. Listen, normally just saying a joke about a politician is one thing, but this whole movie, I never really liked it. It felt like this kind of gimmicky thing that they tried to roll out, creating an October surprise. It ended up that nobody went to see it. Not people that are on the left that supposedly would love this kind of movie. They didn't show up, and people on the right didn't show any interest, and at the end it just failed miserably. And the only reason it's getting even nominated for awards here is because they want to be able to stick it to Trump, just like they're doing here, even in this monologue.
Donald Trump. I'm worried. I've said his name 3 times. It's like Beetlejuice. I've summoned him.
And to really highlight how this whole thing was kind of very strategically planned is afterwards he followed up David Tennant with another joke where he talks about villains and he says, "Oh, speaking about villains," or something along those lines. And then, of course, you see Mark Hamill laughing so they can, I guess, share that TDS moment together. Let's take a look at this clip and see what he says.
Talking of villains.
So there's that. In addition to it, there's also a little bit of... So the reason I'm showing it is like right before Mark Hamill is like pants dropped, he was like, so happy that he was making jokes about Trump being like some villain. And the thing is that it's not that a person like David Tennant at an award show can't make a joke about Trump, but the fact that, the only politician that he seemed to laugh at was, or more than laugh, like suggest as like, he's a villain and say stuff like that about him. He only said that about Trump. I mean, my friend Backyard TARDIS was asking me today, he was saying, aren't there any politicians in England that, David Tennant could have told a joke about? Like, do you get what I'm saying? You have a
course,
very
yeah.
British, very English ceremony. There's, singing and dancing, whatever, or telling jokes. And the only jokes that you have are like, Trump is awful. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
It's like-
it was. Well, let's remember during the first Trump presidency, he was the punchline for every last joke in every last set that any comedian did while they were on late night TV. Right.
Right.
There was no other setup. There was no other punchline except Trump for 4 years, and then some of them continued it after that. Right. So it's like, I feel like this is a little played out, guys. I think maybe and the thing is, this time around, yeah, there's a lot of people who still don't like Trump, but there's a hell of a lot more people around this time that are a lot happier with Trump than they were with what we had before. So I wonder if they don't understand that the audience isn't really there. Of course, if you're just making the jokes for the people in the room, then definitely the right audience for a Trump joke.
I just noticed that Joshua Calkins, in addition to being a member for a month, he gave a $1.99 super chat that he wrote. Don't forget to tell people about the Quantum Leap show. So yes, if anybody here likes Quantum Leap, every Thursday at 10 p.m. We do a stream every week. It's me, the Backyard TARDIS, Ro from the Scarif podcast, Script Doctor, and Sean whenever Sean isn't working. I guess we do a Quantum Leap revisited show where we look at classic episodes of Quantum Leap and we kind of analyze them and discuss them. Professor, if you're ever available, you should join us for one of those. I didn't even. Have I ever even asked you to even like the classic Quantum Leap? I don't even.
Oh
know.
no, yeah, I love the classic Quantum Leap. It's a really good show. Yeah, there might be a time we could make that work.
Yeah, I know, because sometimes those hours aren't as good for you. So I know that.
Well, yeah, it's just family stuff happening
Right, I
earlier in the
understand.
evening, but that doesn't mean we couldn't find a day to make it happen.
Well, one time we'll try to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that whole thing, David Tennant, it's so sad because David Tennant, I really liked him as the Doctor. Mark Hamill, really liked him as Luke Skywalker, the real one, not in the sequels. But these days, you have these people that used to be like used to be positive symbols, if you want to call it. I know that it's a character they played, and the person is different than the character. But man, does it bring me no joy to see like David Tennant tell these kind of bitter TDS jokes, and then Mark Hamill, it's like the best thing that ever happened to him. It's like,
oh yeah.
And again, if this was a ceremony where he's like, doing jokes at like every single politician, and then he has a little joke about Trump, you'd say, okay, well, that's the way late night used to be. This isn't late night, but that's how these kind of even ceremonies or whatever it is, you tell a few jokes all over the place. Now it's just like there's one guy that everybody hates, and they say how much they hate him, and that's their joke. And you were talking about late night. Late night in the US, they ruined it. They absolutely ruined it. It used to be that you like, it doesn't matter who you voted for. At night, there's somebody like a Johnny Carson or a David Letterman, who were very much, they very much understood that their goal is to bring everybody in, to tell some jokes, poke fun at everybody, not just take one side. And not only that, I think that they knew that these shows had to be funny and entertaining, and they really wanted to create, some kind of entertainment value for this kind of late night show. And Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, both of them are just, at least in the case of Jimmy Kimmel, there wasn't a show there, so he took his own show and ruined it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the case of Stephen Colbert, he actually replaced her, and I think that what he did to his show is super disrespectful. Uh, I don't think that Jimmy Fallon necessarily is super political. I think that the problem with Jimmy Fallon is that he's just not as good as Johnny Carson.
He's not very funny,
Right.
frankly. He's not.
Very kind of, oh look, I'm stupid and childish, and there's childish games here.
Yeah, we're gonna do some silly thing where we play kids games for
Jello,
it's
and we
goofy.
stick our faces in it, like,
Yeah,
hey, like, I
yeah.
don't know, just always like, you have some guest there that seems like a really cool person. You're like, okay, we have a game. I'm gonna bring out straws and we'll shove them up our nose. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't care. Don't care about all this shit. Sorry, Sean. Don't care about any of this. Like, he's just he doesn't have like anything great that he brings to the table as an interviewer. He just has these kind of silly games. The only thing that I'll say that Jimmy Fallon does above average is that anything that has to do with like musical impressions, that he's like taking guitar and singing like a dumb song but pretending he's Bob Dylan, totally do that. That's like totally up his alley. That's his strength. You know what I mean? Things like that is what he's good at. But all those games and like the interviews and whatever, really not the best. And even when he does his monologue, I feel like he kind of mumbles through it. Even after all these years, his monologue is like, eh. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, no, yeah, I really don't like. I've actually never liked him. I never liked him when he was on Saturday Night Live either. Everyone thought he was great. He was constantly breaking,
Breaking. He
quirking,
always broke.
and looking at the camera and like laughing like he's in on the
He was
joke.
always
It was
breaking. Yeah,
terrible.
he could
I
never.
didn't find that amusing at all. Yeah.
The thing is, I'll say this. On the surface, he seems, and he probably isn't, but I'm saying on the surface, he seems like a relatively likable guy. But like, if I had to now say, if you forced me to watch one of them, like Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, or Jimmy Kimmel, I would watch Fallon over the other two.
Oh yeah.
Not,
No
not
doubt. If you were going to give me one of these, you say you have to watch one of these shows. You have to watch it. Maybe you have to review it, or you're going to give us your feedback on it. Whatever. You got to watch one of these shows. I'm picking Fallon. I don't want to watch anything from Kimmel. I don't know. Yeah, Colbert. No, no. They're awful, and their shows are circling the drain too already.
totally.
I bet I'm certain that Kimmel is not getting a renewal on his contract. That show is going to go out the door here later this year. I think is when that contract finishes, and then yeah, Colbert. Who knows? I mean, but yeah, his viewership is absolutely
Yeah, I
dreadful.
mean, who wants to watch their crap? Tim Hayes says Jimmy Kimmel is bitter that his man show buddy Adam still has more of a career. Now, to be fair, I would say that it's kind of the opposite. I feel like out of the two of them, Jimmy went more like mainstream, more like kissing the right asses, getting his late night show, probably getting a lot of money. He made all the better business moves on the surface, Jimmy Kimmel. But Adam Carolla feels more that he's just like acting like himself, and he didn't sort of bow down to any of these weird things. Like, he was the way he was at the beginning, and he's sort of the same type of person now. Whereas I think Jimmy Kimmel changed a whole lot from his days of the Man Show until now, almost like a different person.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think I don't know that Adam Carolla might be bigger. I mean, he has his Adam Carolla show, the podcast and radio
He stayed
program that he
true.
had, but
I would say that he stayed true to whoever he is. That
exactly,
I
yeah,
think he did.
he's stayed true to himself, and he has a strong audience. He's very much liked by a lot of the people who follow him. Versus Kimmel, I don't know. Maybe he's liked by Hollywood types, but I think a lot of others have.
Matt Katz says, "I don't like Jimmy Fallon either," at Professor R2.
Yeah,
I didn't say that I love Jimmy Fallon. All I'm saying is that if you force me to watch one of the 3, like, I would go with Fallon because Fallon is just, he's not a great late night host, and his shows are too silly and childish, but I don't feel like he's as malicious as Kimmel and, Colbert. I think he also doesn't take as much interest in the type of politics that they take interest in. I feel like Jimmy Fallon is more like, he wants to drink a beer and play beer pong and whatever it is and dance and sing stupid songs. I mean, I think with him it's more kind of childish and not the kind of entertainment that I specifically am looking for in a late night show. But I don't think he's as malicious as the other two when it comes to his politics and things like that.
yeah,
Just my, 2
yeah.
cents. I don't know for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
none of these people can hold a candle to Johnny Carson.
no, none
He
of them
was
can.
simply one of the greatest entertainers that's ever
One of the
lived.
greatest.
He is amazing. I was always a huge fan of Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, Mad Catz
Comedy
thing I
was
really like. Yeah.
very kind of awkward. Sometimes it was real self-effacing, but it was fun and kind of quirky and strange. It's why I think he didn't fit very well in the Tonight Show mold. I think he didn't change who he was. He didn't really change what he was doing in his comedy to take on that role. And I think a lot of the executives in that role didn't like his more quirky sensibilities and sort of strange takes on stuff. But I always enjoyed Conan. I was sort of a fan of Letterman. I would watch his stuff sometimes. It felt very formulaic a lot of times. It was always kind of the same thing. But then the guy who I never got to see enough of was Craig Ferguson. God, I loved Craig Ferguson, and it was just at a time and in my life, I was just so busy. I just never had the chance to really watch his show on a regular basis, and sometimes I didn't have cable, so I couldn't watch it. So yeah, but I loved his interviewing. The way he would interview people was amazing, and just his comedy timing and sensibilities were just through the roof.
I think
Amazing.
that I only appreciated when he was on initially, I didn't quite get what he wanted, and over time, I kind of appreciated him more, and I think after he left, I really more appreciated that he was something kind of different on the scene. I would absolutely prefer him over the likes of, like, Colbert and Kimmel and even Fallon. He was more like he was more sophisticated. He had this other he was more witty and he had a different kind of vibe and he was just out there doing his thing. I like that better.
Yeah, I think he was really candid. Like he was really open, like with his audience and with his guests, and they would sometimes talk about just the weirdest things. It's really weird, sometimes weirdly intimate things he would talk
Right.
about with the people he was interviewing. But that was part of the charm of it. And like I said, I really loved it, but I so rarely got to watch it just during that time in my life. I was just busy with so many other things, and like I said, sometimes we didn't even have cable in which to watch
Yeah,
watch a
I
show.
had situations like that I was busy. There were years that, like, I didn't watch stuff or I didn't have time. That's why I think that sometimes, I don't know what movie it is that somebody, maybe Tom or something, was like, "Hey, in this movie," and I said I didn't watch it. He's like, "You didn't see that movie?" Sometimes there's a period of time in your life, maybe even a few years, that I
Yeah,
wasn't as focused. There were things going on. Like, for example, uh, Star Trek Enterprise, when it was on, I I don't know if I watched like one episode of that show, maybe. And it's only something that in recent years I kind of said, hey, I think I never really gave this show proper attention. Also, people would later tell me I didn't have much time during those years that it was on. And later people would tell me, like, oh, like, did you watch it? Did you not watch it? People were talking about it. I think that a lot of times they discouraged me because I heard people saying, oh, it's not so good. It's not so good. I ended up watching Star Trek Enterprise. I really like that show. I really like Star Trek Enterprise. I know that some people may not like it, but I don't care. I like Star Trek Enterprise. I'm happy to say I like it. I believe that I like Enterprise more than Voyager. I I
Yeah, I think I might have to agree with you. Voyager was rough as I was joking with a friend earlier tonight. He was sharing a meme with me about Neelix. But what an awful character he was. It was rather funny, but
People are talking, by the way, about Jay Leno. I'll tell you
yeah.
what, Jay Leno was kind of, a guy that he was a professional. He understood what the job was, and he did his job. I will always say this: he didn't have the type of like character and personality that Johnny Carson had. He was okay. He Sometimes there's two kinds of people. There's people that have this kind of natural talent that just can, like at ease, can just work a room, and I think that Johnny Carson had that just natural gift. I know when the cameras weren't rolling, he was a very difficult man. He probably, I don't know, maybe he drank a lot and he was a difficult guy and a lot of different things. But when that camera rolled, Johnny Carson was number one. You don't have that kind of the way. Even today, when you watch clips of him, you can see like just the personality that this guy has and how he knew how to talk to his guests and create this kind of late night atmosphere. So with him, he had a lot of natural talent. Whereas with Jay Leno, I feel like it's hard work. Jay Leno looks like a very hard worker. I
Hmm.
bet that he worked super, super hard. He did everything like by the book, and he was, good enough. But I never felt he was great like Carson personally. But honestly, compared to like the likes of what we see now, like these kind of Kimmel or Fallon or whatever it is that we see, Jay Leno suddenly looks really good. But I never liked what Jay Leno did with Conan O'Brien, because
Yeah,
I don't
that
think
was kind of gross.
he shouldn't have come back. The thing is that Jay Leno, the fact that he retired, but then they put him like at 10 p.m. before Conan. There were so many stupid things they did. It's like they set up Conan for failure. I think that if they would have given him more time, I think Conan probably would have been okay. But I don't know. Conan is more talented. Honestly, in some ways, I think Conan is more talented than Leno. He's more talented than Fallon, Kimmel, and Colbert. I think Conan, he understands like the balance between being kind of quirky and funny and smart, and he just knows what he knows that his goal is to entertain. I think he's pretty good. He never got a
Oh,
fair chance,
yes.
I think.
No, he had his audience, and I thought he did well with what he's done. I haven't seen. He was supposed to have something new that started on like Max or something, right? I got maybe that did start, and I never saw it. But no, I was never a huge fan of Leno. I never hated Leno.
No,
It
I didn't
just
hate him.
wasn't the comedy was just never something that resonated with me.
It's like I said, it's you could tell that he had a good team of people. He worked hard, and you could tell it was very professional. But that
Exactly. Yeah.
added value, that X factor, that something additional, always felt that he had it like missing. I felt like Johnny Carson had the work ethic along with personality. Jay Leno had the work ethic, whereas I think David Letterman had more of a personality. I actually I think that I preferred David Letterman's style over Jay Leno's, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Neither of them were Carson.
Nope. No. Yeah.
Well,
What else?
speaking
What
of
else do
Carson and Leno, I wanted to ask you if you saw this stuff with Elon Musk now. First of all, he unveiled the third version of Grok, which
Yes.
I don't know. I had a beta of it and I tried it. It seems okay. I didn't see like a huge difference. Maybe I just wasn't, looking at the little details. Have you had a chance to check out what's different about Grok 3?
I have not got an opportunity to check out the third version of Grok yet. I don't have access to it. I know there's early access for people who pay for the higher tier of X, but I don't pay for that premium plus whatever. I do have the premium subscription, but I don't have the premium plus. And then I haven't seen any other opportunities to try it out, but um, from what I've been reading, there are some impressive changes and improvements in it. Some people are saying that perhaps it's not quite the uh, the incredible improvement that some people are claiming. Um, I don't know what to think. I actually think Grok is very capable. It's done some pretty impressive stuff, not just with generative text, but also with image generation. I've seen some really impressive results from the AI there. But um, as to how much better it is than others, honestly, even as somebody who works with technology like every day, I don't really use AI all that much. I have a few specific tasks that I tend to use. I actually spend most of my time, most of the tools that I use are uh, there's a tool called Notebook LM from Google, where you can kind of give it uh, your own data and then ask it to use that data to do stuff for you, which is for what I'm using it for helping to improve content in lectures or generate quiz questions or something that to put in a test or whatever. Like that's way more helpful to me than what I can do with some of the other models. You can do something similar to that with other models, but Notebook 11 is kind of built around that idea of doing that. So I tend to use that more. I do occasionally use some of the others, but it's not something I spend a whole lot of time poking around. But I have not gotten to try that newest version of Grok, so I couldn't really tell you like if it's much better than the second one. But Grok 2 is a pretty competitive model from what I can tell. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some nice improvements in the third one.
By the way, something just very, very strange. It was like a Twilight Zone moment that I had here while you were talking. In my
Yes.
inbox, I got a message. There was a sort of sometimes you know how you have websites where rock bands can post if they're looking for other musicians to work with or something like that. So something that I posted, I think that initially I posted in that site maybe like 15 years ago. Maybe there was something that I did almost like 10 years ago. I was working with a few musicians. We were looking for other musicians to work with. And I posted like that I was looking for maybe, I don't know if I said I was looking for a drummer. I don't even know. So right now, 10 years later, somebody just sent a message and they're like, we heard some music on your page. We'd love to work with you. Maybe you can we're doing metal and all this stuff. It's like the guy that wrote this message doesn't understand that I probably posted that thing 10 years ago. The track that he's listening to on that page was recorded probably at least 15 years ago, if not more. I probably couldn't sing the way I sing in that track now, anyways. It's like it's just some weird situation. Talk about like a late response. So
That's
yeah,
yeah, that's kind of funny.
it is funny.
Hey, you posted this thing a decade ago. You still available, buddy?
The thing is
Yeah.
that he should have seen that it's probably from a decade ago and then thought like, well, that's that. Like the fact that he actually took the time to write and he's writing like in 2 seconds. He's like, oh, do you want to jam? Like I'm like thinking to myself, who is this guy? He doesn't realize. I think it's just really funny. We're looking for like a front man that also plays guitar. Yeah, I mean, I play guitar. I don't think that. I think he's not looking in the right place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Now I'm wondering
That's
if
really weird.
the thing is that
Could be
maybe
a
I'll
could
answer.
just be a scam.
No, no, it's not a scam because the amount, see, a scam would be like somebody writing like 2 sentences. This is a person that wrote like something that looks like a biography, talking about like the bands he's in, what he's doing, what he's looking to do. It's so detailed that I believe, based on what's written here, listen, he wrote he listened to a song that was recorded at least 15 years ago. Maybe he genuinely liked what happened there. It's maybe even more than 15 years. I probably couldn't even reproduce it now. Like, even if he asked me to perform that song, probably wouldn't do it well. He'd have like the more like, veterans version,
Mhm.
like I don't have that kind of energy and all that stuff. You change.
Yeah.
like Paul McCartney, only without all the awards and like all the hits.
Without all the plaudits, yeah. Jeez, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so I mean, there's been this there's all this stuff that's been going back and forth with Elon Musk and Sam Altman. I guess he was last week offered
To buy it,
to
yeah.
to buy OpenAI, the nonprofit arm, or he was part of a group with an unsolicited bid that they put in for OpenAI.
Yeah, he didn't wanna sell it
Um,
apparently. They didn't
and
wanna sell it.
so yeah, they kind of laughed that off. What did Altman say? Uh,
He's like, "Oh,
y-
Elon is so insecure," and yeah, I don't know what he was
yeah,
saying.
no, he said no, thank you, but we'll buy Twitter for 9.74 billion if you want, because he offered 97.4 billion to buy the OpenAI stuff, and so yeah, he offered to buy Twitter for a tenth of that, as kind of an insult. Um, also making fun of saying that the company, that it's diminished in its price since Musk bought it, because he bought it for 44 million, 44 billion in 2022, I think. So yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
So, yeah, no, but the thing is real. I'm looking at it now. This is really a person. I think he just simply didn't look when I posted this thing. If
Yeah,
somebody would have looked, like, just the 10 years going by from the last time I even posted anything there, that kind of is like, a red flag. Although I don't know how old the guy is. Maybe he himself is like, I just don't know. But
yeah,
I'm not going to do anything with it because I'm not in that mindset right now, unfortunately. If I ever did anything, if I had time and I would do anything musical, maybe I would, grab a guitar and play, something myself or record something by myself, but I wouldn't do that. Although I could share, I could share something, I guess. Something somewhat interesting. It's not very interesting. Uh, there's a movie. I'm going to say this. I don't know. I'm going to be very careful now. There's a movie that came out in recent times that is like an independent movie that three people have seen at best. Uh,
hmm
and in that movie, there's a song that I was one of the people that wrote the song.
oh,
But yes, the movie, I believe only a handful of people saw it, and yeah, I guess that I don't have much more to say about it. But
was that it was Leslie Headland's student film that you
no,
were
it wasn't Leslie Headland's student film. It was actually it was a movie that had a few somewhat recognizable actors in it, I guess. Very kind of small indie movie. I actually don't know. I don't know where I would watch it. Like, it's not on any streaming service. I saw it in an actual, I don't know if to call it a festival, but I saw something like that. But otherwise, I don't know how to even watch it.
yeah, no
So
telling.
yeah, I
No
added to the
telling.
lore. I told something
Yes, you
very
did.
private.
You did. Yeah.
Again, this is a
Um,
very kind of low level thing. This is like the lowest of the lowest level, but it is the truth. That did happen to me. That's like my crowning achievement as a musician
you got a song and an indie movie.
in an
All
indie
right, there
movie,
you go.
but it's not even like one of those that all the Oscars give it awards. It's like an indie movie.
Yeah.
To be fair, I will say I probably shouldn't say this. There was once a situation that I read like an industry trade, and they listed like a lot, like they were talking about a lot of different movies and a lot of different things, and in their babbling of a million movies, that name in one place actually comes up of the movie, but my name isn't mentioned because like it's not, nobody even knows what the movie is. So to talk about a person that don't like, that contributed some music to it. Certainly wasn't going to get into that article.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my 15 seconds of fame.
James Caserta is not caught up on the lore. He says he wants to know if you know Leslie Headland. And Emperor Goodwin made sure to fill that in. He says, yes, in the biblical sense. Yes, you do know.
Emperor Goodwin says if it's on Pornhub. No, it's not. It's not on the P Hub. It's not that kind of indie movie. I don't know. It was interesting.
That reminds me. We were watching some Family Guy, old episodes of Family Guy earlier today, and there's the episode where Brian is in Hollywood, and he gets asked to be a director, and he ends up directing adult films, and he goes to the awards. And they're giving awards for music, and then so they're playing the snippets of the music, and there's like 4 different people. It's all the same, like, jazz stuff, and, and then and then one of the pieces for one of the adult films is John Williams.
That's actually funny. That is very funny. Somebody says no love for the Rumble, but I don't know what he means. I don't know what you mean, no love. There's a lot of love for Rumble. But yeah, don't know what you meant, but there's 100% a lot of love for.
Well, from our side, there's love. Maybe Rumble's not loving us tonight. They didn't boost our stream or anything.
It's okay. Don't.
That's fine. We got stuff for 46 people watching over there on Rumble. That's nice.
Rumble is a great platform, and anytime anytime that this platform is supportive of what we do, we don't take it for granted, and we're very, very grateful. So,
did we lose Price, or was it me?
What? Hello? I think it's either me or you.
Oh, did it come back? Oh, okay.
I don't know. It was either me or you.
But everything's back. No, it was weird because like I was moving and you were moving, and I could see the mic activating your your avatar, but I wasn't hearing anything at all.
I couldn't hear you either. But
yeah, it must have been something weird on the Rumble side.
What I was saying is that there's a lot of people on Rumble, and anytime that Rumble looks upon us favorably, we don't take it for granted. I appreciate all the kind of positive vibes we've gotten from Rumble, especially during the past year. This is a show that was launched initially with really Rumble in mind, which is why I always say that it's our headquarters, because when it comes to Rumble, I never worry that we'll talk about something and that there will be an issue with it. I don't worry that people will write something in the chat and there'll be all these filters and things. Although sometimes we get a weird person in the chat, but I prefer still letting people say what they want. And on occasion, if there's a weirdo, well, we just remove that weirdo if necessary. But in general, I like what Rumble does. I like what it stands for, and I like the whole freedom of speech aspect. And we're always very grateful, for any support or anything that happens on this platform. So just wanted to throw that out there. And if you're not already signed up for Rumble, you should do that now, and you could follow us. And if you're on any other platform and you want to subscribe to us, that would also be very welcome. So yeah,
very much, yes.
So I guess now with these wars, what do you think is going to ultimately happen? I don't think that Sam Altman is looking to sell that thing. I feel like he's not going to sell it.
Oh no, they're not going to sell. I think there's going to be a lot of competitors that are going to be part of this. There's now this new 500 billion initiative, the Stargate initiative that we're working on for. The federal government is now pouring a bunch of money into, and Sam Altman is part of that, and Musk isn't too thrilled about that, but he's part of that group with that big Stargate joint venture with the U.S. government, and then a couple of companies. I know SoftBank in Japan that was pouring a bunch of money into it, Oracle as well. And so, no, I don't think that there's going to be something that they get bought out, not anytime soon. But personal feelings here. Just we will see. But I think a lot of the AI hype is going to start to die in 2025. It's Empress in him says the technology bubble. It I think there is a bubble, especially a financial one, that's going on with all of these different AI companies. There's going to be a whole bunch of these companies that have gotten huge influxes of VC money in order to try and stay afloat and try and generate something novel using LLMs and other AIs. And I think soon we're just going to start to see that what's possible with all of these AIs, that there's going to be continued advances. There's going to be new changes. There's going to be new approaches that are going to be, coming up. And as we start to see more effective reasoning models, those are potentially going to be worthwhile. But I think we're going to start seeing a plateau with where this, how quickly this can develop into something bigger. And we also have the issue of the amount of compute time and energy that it takes for some of these tools to work effectively. We haven't seen a whole lot of companies that are finding ways to actually make the AI more efficient. They can make it work faster, they can make it do more impressive things, but all of that comes at the cost of spending a lot more money and a lot more compute power, a lot more energy to make those things happen. They're not really there's been a few improvements that have happened here and there. DeepSeek, which you probably heard of,
Yeah.
they had a kind of a unique approach to actually making their model a little bit more efficient, and so now some of the other groups are starting to see how they could integrate something like that into their model. But is AI going to continue to be a big thing? Yes, I think we're going to continue to see it creeping into every last freaking product we can you can see out there. There's going to continue to be new developments, and there's going to continue to be improvements. But I think what we've seen over the last few years, that trajectory is not going to continue. Right? 2 years ago, hardly anybody had heard of LLMs, and now there's a dozen different companies, and these all these different companies that are competing to be the top one out there. And I think that unfortunately that's going to start to taper off. A lot of these models, in order to make these models work better, Price, you got to put in new data.
I see.
And a lot of these models have ingested basically all the data they're ever going to have. I mean, there is new data that's becoming available as new things happen, but it's not only that they don't have a lot more data to put into their models to keep training them and improving on them, but also uh, it's not cost effective, right? A lot of these companies, even if you're paying, a huge chunk of money for, Chat GPT Pro, whatever, that money is not anywhere close to helping them cover the costs of actually operating those. The only reason that they're able to continue operating is because Microsoft is funding them. Uh, they're giving them basically free compute to make their models work. And of course, they're getting a benefit from it. They're getting to use their models as well. But it feels like this bubble, not even necessarily that it's going to burst, but we're going to start to see the level, how quickly that stuff is improving. It's going to start to taper off over the next year, 2 years. And it's still going to be a valuable and useful tool. There's going to continue to be advances, but I just don't see it. We're not going to have a what would be called a general AI. Uh, there's not going to be an AI that can think like a person. It's just not going to happen anytime soon.
But by the way, Six, not to cut you off, but Six
Oh, right.
sent a poop sticker for 99¢. And when it comes to the AI, you think it's going to be like the metaverse, like everybody's just all buzzing about it, and then soon it's going to kind of just fade away.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've had these these cycles before. Yeah, VR and AR and everything. Everyone was racing after. Oh, we're gonna make these amazing new products, and then they bring out some stuff, and it's kind of interesting. But with the technology that we have available to us, it's all that we're gonna get, right? There's
Well,
just not
I,
there's
I
there.
think there's huge potential. I mean, I think that sometimes people get excited about something maybe too early on in the game.
Well,
When
yeah,
it
that's
comes
it.
when it comes to the metaverse, I'll tell you what, I didn't understand what people wanted, and then somebody bought me like an Oculus, not the latest version, the one that was before then, the even clunkier and heavier one. And
Yeah,
they bought it for me for like a Christmas gift or whatever it is. And I thought to myself, oh, what is this thing? And I felt weird about it, but it's a gift, and I'm like, I'm going to try it. So I put it on, and you know what? I did think there was something interesting about it. I found myself like doing different things with it, testing out, doing different things, and I thought that there was value in it. What I really said to myself was that right now it's kind of clunky. I
yes.
thought to myself when I was using it, 5, 10 years from now, this thing is going to be amazing. It's just that right now, and probably since the time that I've used that one that I had, it's already been a number of years. I'm sure that now, if you get in the newer model or the newest model, I'm sure it's better. But I still feel like unless you can do it that this like a light pair of glasses that you put over your eyes that's just doing all of this
Yeah.
and doing it like seamlessly, all this other heavy stuff that you're putting on your head and walking around, whatever, it's not. I guess we're not there yet, but it's not that I don't think that the technology. I think there is something with the technology that you can do, and maybe with AI, it's the same thing that people are expecting everything immediately. But I will say that in some fields, the AI is improving. Like that app that you do music with, amazing.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you that as a musician, that initially when they're like, "Oh, this thing will do AI music," I'm like, "Yeah, right." And then like I clicked on it, and these early models, you're just like, ah, whatever. Now, if you try some of those kind of AI things that make music, in some cases, I'm really, really impressed. It's like you tell the AI what style you want, how you want it done, and in some cases, it really delivers something interesting. So it's not that I don't see anything valuable in AI, and also, when it comes to asking AI stuff and having AI do certain things, I think there is value there. I actually think that there's more rapid advancement in that than, let's say, the metaverse was, which was truly too ahead of its time.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, you don't you think that
Well, I'm not saying it's gonna go away. I'm not saying it's gonna, stop developing. I just think we're gonna see it taper off a little bit. We've just seen this wildly rapid. I mean, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, nobody talked about AI at all, right? And we've just seen this huge explosion in all of these different companies and all of these different products and tools that we have. And I think we're just kind of going to hit a wall as to what the technology is that we have available to us and the way that we train these models. It's going to continue to be a useful tool, and there's going to be some interesting adjustments and changes to it, but we're not going to see this same really rapid just explosion of AI. It's not going to continue on that same trajectory to the point that we now have, you know, general AI just, thinking and reasoning for itself and whatever. Like that's not going to happen.
we're not in the Terminator stage yet?
No, we're not. Not even close. There's not gonna be Skynet walking around, not with the models and stuff that we have now.
By the way, Tim Hayes says, I hope Dread Roberts comes back to your live stream soon, Price. He seems like a nice guy. He is a very nice guy, and he is always, welcome to hang out with us. It's just that he uh, he had a lot of stuff going on in his personal life, including family things, not bad things, just very, very much busy with his family. And sometimes that happens in life. And uh, he from time to time, I still kind of check in with him to see that he's okay. He hasn't been really online a lot. He's kind of just doing his own thing, but yeah, he's a good guy, absolutely. So
Yeah. He had some changes, in his family and stuff recently too. I know that was part of it.
Yeah, I mean,
So
you
yeah,
you have
just just
you're married, you have young children. I think there was also a relocation going on,
yeah,
so
I think he also had to relocate too. So
there was
that changed his availability and hours and stuff like that too.
everything. So, yeah, so, again, from time to time, I still kind of, we still DM each other. I still check in to see he's okay. I know recently unfortunately, for some reason, people got annoyed at him, and I really think that that was blown out of proportion. I'm not saying everybody did. Some people got annoyed because he was saying something about, he's Christian and he has Christian beliefs, and I guess, like, he was mentioning that he wants to see, like, appealing women in video games, but he doesn't necessarily need them to be, like, naked or something like that. And everybody got, like, really upset at this. I don't really know why. It ended up, like, inevitably, snowballing into something else that had nothing to do with him. But yeah, I mean, uh, not that I even like to even get involved in all of this, but I will say that I can respect if somebody has religious beliefs or whatever it is and they have their own point of view. I can respect that. Sometimes people don't have to agree on something. It could be that I'll think, oh, I don't mind this. And maybe somebody else will say, hey, for me, I don't like this. And we can still be friends. And I don't know. Sometimes online, I feel like people are too quick to kind of bicker with each other about stuff. Uh, but I can appreciate also that people are very passionate about what they do and what they believe in. Sometimes that leads to strange bickering. But yeah, I don't know. Just throwing that out there. I've
Yes.
said it before that I've always really liked him. He's always given me the impression that he's a stand up guy, and I hope that everything he's doing now that he's doing well. I think from time to time he may even listen to this stream. So if he's listening
Yeah.
now, then he'll hear us saying positive things about him.
Yeah. Oh, and his Argentum, yeah, Gooner Gate. Yeah, people were calling it. Very,
Until now,
he was not the only one that was making these statements either. There were a few other Razor Fist. I know. I think Melanie Mack too was
no, I
saying
think that what happened was I
similar
don't
things.
really lump him in with all those people. He just posted like an innocent tweet that kind of spiraled. All these different people started weighing in, and it ended up like I don't think he ever really was looking to start such a different like it sort of snowballed out of out of his hands into a lot of different directions. I still think, personally, I like when we're all kind of fighting for a good cause. I like to see people getting along. I when I see like different factions or something uh sort of upsetting each other or bickering and things like that, it doesn't make me happy. uh, I understand though, in some cases, there are certain situations, and I definitely don't want to get into the specifics, that maybe certain things were said by one person, and then the other person said something, and then the other person said something, and then other people said something, and sometimes when things get like that, when everybody's just saying stuff about each other, it sort of takes kind of a dark turn, and
Yeah, and
I
things get
generally don't.
heated, and yeah,
Yeah, I do appreciate that people are passionate about what they love,
yeah,
I can understand that passion. Sometimes you're so passionate that you're fanatic even about it. You're willing to fight and to argue, and I understand that too. I'm not hating on anybody in this equation. All I'm saying is that I can only speak about myself. I try my best when I talk to people and to understand where they're coming from and what it is that drives them. And I also recognize that sometimes I could be talking to a person that's not in the same place as me or has a different mentality or ideas than me, and we don't have to always agree, and sometimes there could also be a situation where we both disagree, and that's fine also. But yeah, it's a strange kind of world we live in,
yep,
and yeah, I mean, the thing is that I don't really know Melanie Mack. I out of this whole thing that happened, there were only two people that I actually, I don't know if to say vouched for, but was able to say good things about. And I'm still happy to say, Dred Roberts is a good guy. Never had any experience with him that made me feel anything else than he's like a very decent stand up guy. Uh, I can't imagine a situation that even if he and I disagreed on something, that it would be a fight or an argument. He's a nice guy, and I really think he don't have anything negative to say about him. When it comes to John F. Trent, I'll say that John F. Trent, I've had a lot of positive experiences throughout the years. That maybe I was trying to report on something that the mainstream media wasn't reporting, and people forget this, that there were years that you couldn't post something on Twitter without it being taken down. You couldn't get something out there. There would be viral tweets that would get shadow banned. Like, I went through this, that you try to push something, you try to do it, and the system would be working against you. And during that time, there was basically one person that I knew that if you told him about a story that everybody's trying to bury, that he would go and write the story, if there was any truth to it, or if it had merit when he researched, and that's John F. Trent. And early on, when a lot of the people that seem to say something negative about him, early on, when his help was necessary, when that kind of his work was really good, and he did a lot of great things, nobody was saying anything bad about him then. And to now find reasons to kind of get into arguments with him, I understand. I don't know what he said to people and what they said to him. Sometimes it's a two to tango situation, so I'm not really going to weigh in on that. But all I'm going to say is that John F. Trent, all the experiences that I've had with him is that he's a stand-up guy, and I understand that he's a devout Christian and has his very strong beliefs. Sometimes people don't have those same strong beliefs or beliefs at all, but it doesn't mean that you can't be on good terms with them or friends with them or even appreciate what they do, the work they do on a professional level. Just putting that out there. As for
Mhm.
the other people that are being mentioned, I'm not going to say anything good or bad about them because I just don't really know them. I've never really had much interaction with Melanie Mack. I don't know much about her to say one way or another. I know she has a following that a lot of people like her, and that's fine. I don't not really that familiar with her stuff personally.
What little I followed of Melanie Mac has not interested me in any way. It's not interested me at all. And I've seen her have a few reactions to things here and there that I was not particularly interested in hearing more from her. So
Uh,
I'm maybe she's a nice person. I don't know, but just saying that when you see interactions online and you look at them, you go, yeah, I don't think I want to read any more of that. I don't think I need to hear any more about that. But oh yeah, the whole thing with the Gooner Gate was ridiculous. I
yeah,
mean,
I don't know.
some people were definitely there were some people who were definitely going a little too far and essentially, sort of, asking for censorship, saying, no, we should never have games that have, adult themes, adult, stuff in it. And, I think a lot of the people were actually just saying, look, I think this is an overreaction. We're saying, oh, no, we've got all these games where every woman is covered head to toe and half of them don't even look like women and they're ugly and whatever. And then now we're going to get the opposite instead. Now every game that comes out is going to be pornography, or every character is going to be running around in tiny little outfits or no outfits at all. And that's an overreaction to saying, oh, we've won now because we can have games that have nudity in it. And it's like, okay, that's great, but if you're going to make every game with that in it, it's going to be the same overreaction, and people are going to fight back against that. Why not just have some attractive characters in your games again, right?
I
It,
I
not
I
every
I don't
game
know.
has to have nudity in it,
I'm not gonna rain on people's feet if they're passionate about something. I
Yeah.
personally, I don't know how this whole discussion spiraled out of control the way it did. Argentum said Trent annoys me because he puts religion into everything. He said some very horrible things to Madame Savvy too, running her out. I have no context. I don't know, and I can only speak from my own experience. My experience is, and this is something that I think that I don't know how to say this. I think that, first of all, nobody's perfect, and I'm sure people make mistakes. I've made mistakes. I can't speak, and say if he's made mistakes or not. I don't know. Have no context. But what I will say is that there was a point in time where you didn't have really uh, articles properly in the media, and Twitter was being controlled by certain parties with certain ideologies, and you couldn't go and say something that was actually happening because they made sure that it wouldn't go through. And at the time, I think John F. Trent was with Bounding into Comics on several occasions where nobody wanted to do the work and nobody was willing to actually, you know, step up and make sure people knew of his story. He actually did do that. And for whatever reasons, I respected that. I respect it's easy now to say, well, why is he so Christian and he loves all this stuff? I mean, now we're kind of like, it's like I think people forget that there was a time that we were not in the position that we're at now. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Oh yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, people are good and bad, and people aren't perfect, and I say that about myself, and I say that about everybody. And all I can say is that my experiences with him have been good. He puts this. He likes religion. He likes his religion. That's fine. I've met people of different religions that were very passionate about what they believed in, and as long as that thing isn't that, like, they want us to delete ourselves, if you understand what I'm saying. If
Yep.
it's not something weird like that, I don't really have an issue. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so that's the person believes, so that's what he believes. That's it. But that's just me. I don't know. I'm
Yep.
just giving my 2 cents on it. I wanted to ask. I know that Istophobos, he wanted to talk about he had some knowledge about the crash today. You know,
Yeah.
are you
The
still there,
airplane.
Istophobos? You wanted to talk about the plane crash or something like that. I don't know if he's still around. Istophobos, if you're still here, let me know.
Yeah.
I
We can
thought
move on and we can talk about our last little topic
let's
here.
let's talk about the video game thing about the
Yeah.
Marvel rival dev
This
firing.
was pretty surprising here. I'll share this one story from that Park Place. It covers it pretty well. Yeah, so apparently for whatever reason, NetEase, which by the way is a Chinese development company, who's been in charge of Marvel Rivals, which has had a huge audience. I mean, it's just exploded onto the scene in the past month or so. Has really gotten huge, and the Marvel Rivals, as popular as it is they've been laying off basically an entire studio here on on the US side of things. The studio, if I can remember here, um let's see, Seattle, they were based in Seattle was the name of the development team. um let's see, yeah, Marvel, enjoyed an extraordinary launch, drawing in 20 million players in the first month alone. It's a 6v6 shooter. See, this kind of thing is just not really my bag. I don't really play games like this. But I understand it's gotten a huge following. People really have been enjoying it. And they enjoy the versions of the characters and stuff that are being built inside the game here. What was the name of the studio? Anchor Point. That was the name of it. Yeah. So NetEase is a Chinese gaming company. So they apparently just decided to cut their development team on the U.S. side, and they're going to move everything back over to China. So kind of surprising that Anchor Point and their development team has been a huge part of making Marvel Rivals the hit that it has been so far. So it's a little strange for them to suddenly just, you know, just to kick this group out. But I suppose maybe they think that they've got all the talent they need back in China. So uh, very strange. Usually a game that's on top of the world like Marvel Rivals is not suddenly going to be laying people off, but uh, maybe they know something that we don't. Like in yeah, as the letter that was received, or the not the letter, but the post that was made. Uh, yeah, we made this successfully franchise, and we were just laid off. So yeah, it's very strange. Um, it talking about today. I'm going to start with the inspiring game. Yeah, just talking about different people and the incredible job they did and the work that they did and everything. But yeah, kind of bizarre that they would lay this team off when this game is already doing really well. And as I said, that team was a big part of what was able to happen with that game and getting it launched. A big part of, I think, what a lot of people were enjoying with the game was that developers were really responsive to people. Uh, a lot of suggestions from players and others, and so yeah, it's kind of surprising that they would can people so quickly. But like I said, as far as I can guess, NetEase just decided that they are going to handle all of that stuff, all the development and support on their own in their development studios in China. So yeah, who knows? It's very weird.
Very weird. I didn't hear back from Mr. Phobos. I also DM'd him, but I think that maybe he fell asleep.
Yeah, that's all right.
But that is very strange. Usually when a game does well, you don't expect the devs to be fired. So it is odd, but I guess it's a complicated industry, this gaming thing.
Very busy industry. So let's see. I was gonna see if there was something about that Toronto crash.
Oh, here, Mr. Phobos is back, I think.
Oh, dadgummit. So here's a video from the tower. So it seems like it hit the ground pretty hard and the gear collapsed. And then it kind of twisted and rolled over to the side. Broke one of the wings off and ended up upside down.
Okay, let me look at it. So it's landing.
Yeah, and it actually hits pretty hard. I think you can see it almost immediately rolls to the side. And so yeah, it rolled and one of the wings collapses under the weight and then it turns over upside down. But thankfully, they were there and had it managed. Didn't catch on fire or anything like that. And yeah, I guess only 12 people were injured in the crash. So that's definitely much better than some of the other stuff that's happening. Can you believe all the people that are trying to somehow they're trying to blame Trump for all the airplane accidents?
Why? What does he have anything to do with this?
Exactly. He has nothing to do with it. He just happens to be president. So
Oh, and not to mention that
You're
he
gonna
just
blame him.
became president. I mean, it's not
yeah,
like he's
yeah. Oh, well, they say, oh, well, he made cuts to the FAA and all sorts of stuff. It's his fault. It's like these things were happening before he made the cuts, and part of the things that the changes that he made he actually were to hire more people because he's making sure they're getting rid of certain regulations that would require certain types of people, with certain skin colors or certain sexual preferences to be hired rather than more qualified people. So it seems ridiculous to try and blame that entirely on Trump.
Well, I actually, I think we have Istopobos with us. He has
Yeah.
experience, piloting aircraft, and he had some input regarding what's going on with this crash. He wanted to talk about it some. So, what's up, Istopobos? You have to unmute your mic.
Yeah. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Man, this one was a weird one.
Very strange.
So, even though the weather was nice, the wind was really, really gusty. They had a 40-degree crosswind at about 25 to 40 knots. And it looks like there it could have been pilot error, and there definitely is a component because they could have done a go round, which is when you abort the landing and go around the runway and circle back. And you can do that even if your wheels hit the tarmac. As long as you have enough runway, you can always hit the throttle and go back around. But they were descending at about twice the normal rate. They were doing about 800 feet per minute.
Yeah, that descent looked incredibly fast, incredibly steep.
Yeah, the official sort of the basic standard is anywhere from 300 to 500-600 feet. But in the last 2 seconds, they accelerated to over 1,000 feet per minute. I think I even heard 1,200 by one um, person's estimation. So they're guessing it might have been a downdraft. And I think what you said before, what happened is one of the wings got caught there. There's a thing called a dihedral. Basically, one of the wings got gusted and it tilted the plane. So all of the weight of a plane going down about twice as fast as it should hit the one landing gear strut. It snapped off, and then that broke the wing off. And then the lift on the other wing, since it flipped the plane upside down. And that's why you wear your seatbelt, folks, when you're taking off and landing.
Sorry. Here, there's video, very close
graphic
video. You can see it hits pretty hard. Yep. And then one wing. And there you go.
So the real curious, as a plane's coming into land, you'll notice that the pilot always lifts up the nose right before it hits the runway. That's called the flare. The flare bleeds off excess airspeed and slows you down when you hit. The flare is a very important part of landing. If you flare too hard, you'll stall and drop anyway. But there's no indication of any flare or attempt of a flare. The nose never came up. The flaps were down. The plane was configured for landing, obviously. But the pilot didn't even look like they attempted a flare. And if they had noticed a sudden downdraft, like a 40-knot wind will definitely push the plane down. But you would think the pilot would have reacted and brought the nose up at the very least. That didn't happen. The regional airline, the pilots are qualified, but they don't have the amount of experience like a national carrier airline would have. But they should have sort of. So it's looking like it's pilot error combined with a really tricky. Somebody described, a fighter pilot described it as what did he say? It was sporty conditions. And I guess that means a little like with heavy crosswind, heavy gusts. Crosswind's fine. You just point the nose toward into the wind and you kind of crab walk your way down. But with gusts, you can't really predict them. You have to react in time. But it almost looked like about 5 seconds before it hit the ground, they stopped flying the plane. So, the three possibilities, one of which was weather. Just because it's clear and the sun's out doesn't mean the weather's good for flying. So it was really windy. There might have been a mechanical problem, or it might have been pilot error. But it was but the amazing, miraculous thing, and I was following this morning, is that only one person got seriously injured. There were a bunch of bumps and bruises and minor scrapes. And that is thanks to both the airline crew, the fire and rescue teams on standby, and the incredible engineering of what is generally considered an uncomfortable airline seat that's designed to absorb 12 Gs. So that seat's going to crush, although they are designed to absorb that amount in the opposite direction. But it's amazing that the fuselage held together, which protected them from both fire and debris.
when I saw the videos of the people evacuating this, I couldn't believe how much of this was in one piece. Just someone describing the accident. I was like, that seems like everyone inside that plane would have just been scrambled eggs.
And that's a real
It's
tribute
amazing.
to the airframe and the engineering.
Yeah.
It's a relatively newer airframe, which makes it like 20 years old as opposed to 60. They will upgrade engines and interiors and everything, but airframes are in service for decades.
There's something interesting that's been happening right now as we speak. That apparently, did you see this thing? Let me show it. Let me see if I can show you.
It wasn't Trump's fault. I can say that with
Yeah,
certainty.
yeah.
Okay, so the plane that crashed in Toronto was a Delta flight operated by Endeavour Air, a small airline obsessed with all-female unmanned flights. Let's see what this is.
Holy crap, it was DEI. Oh my God.
So weird.
You got into hard.
What is your name as a group?
The Click. Click or click? Click. Let's do it.
What is this?
That's their commercial for an
referencing a whole bunch of different chick flicks.
And I guess this is Endeavour Air. We're committed to delivering more unmanned flight like these. As a proud partner of women in aviation, we can aspire more girls to explore aviation careers. And then I guess, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, your flight is unmanned today.
Mm-hmm. Unmanned as in...
No men, yes.
No men, yes.
Okay, I know I'm going to take some crap for this, but I think the odds of it pilot error just went up quite a bit.
Possibly, yes. Yes. Once again, I want the best possible candidate flying my plane. Just like I want the best possible doctor, doing the operation. I don't want the C student that got across the, got across the line by graduating with, just because they were diverse, right? I want the person who was the best at their job, doing that job.
I didn't hear any of that this morning, and I'm guessing it was something they maybe were trying to keep quiet for a little bit.
I guess.
Regardless, though, I mean, I'm every time something like this happens, I'm happy that everyone was okay, and you know what? They still. Everyone walked off the plane. I never saw Grandma move that fast.
Oh, yeah.
So regardless of what happened during the flare and the impact, the pilots still got everyone home in one piece. And they were probably responsible for a minimum amount of motion and slide on the ground. I'm sure they did what they could.
Well, I think Endeavour Air probably owes everyone on that plane a fresh pair of pants.
And a new laptop and phone because everybody had to leave their stuff.
Yeah. That is definitely interesting. That an all female.
I never felt like I need to go to an airline that has only women. I mean, if let's say there's some women on board, like the ones that walk around with a cart, if they look really nice, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, I guess.
I want to say this. Okay, early on when I was learning how to fly, I met my girlfriend who was also learning how to fly. Her dad was a pilot.
Okay.
And we would probably be married today if she she passed away. Not flying related, but she was a damn good pilot. She was a great pilot. And I know plenty of really amazing women pilots. The problem is the ratio is just too small. So if you're insisting on crewing your entire airline,
Right, I
you're
understand
going
what
to
you're
run out
saying.
of candidates.
No, the truth is that it doesn't matter men or women or anything. I'm sure that there's from every group you have people that are good at something, but the question should be who are the best people to fly this plane and not, hey, let's bring only women because it has to be only women. That's just dumb. So if they brought only women because they wouldn't take the people that are actually qualified, that's where problems like this begin. But I don't know. I don't know enough about this crash. It's just
Yeah.
obviously these TikTok videos we just saw, they didn't, they're not a good look. The optics aren't great here, but yeah.
No, and the fact that while the standards to get your rating, your license, your qualification are the same regardless of gender, the airlines also have qualifications, and some of those have been lowered in order to enable more women to enter the industry.
Yep.
And that's when you come into problems, man. You get a fireman who or fire person who I always look at like firemen as human. The men on the end of those things just stands for human. So I'll call a woman a fireman too. But anyway, that's where you end up with somebody who can't, carry a tank, much less a body out of a fire. As long as they can pass the same qualifications that everybody else has to pass, I've got no problem.
Yeah, I can accept that. Like I said, I'm not saying that women can't fly or can't do the thing, but it shouldn't be that an airline is like, oh, we only have women. That's dumb also.
Yeah. Well, and even this sort of demand for, gender parity, right? Oh, we've got to have just as many women as we have men in any given career. If you really look at, any number of different careers, for instance, I mean, I work in information technology. I have for years. That's what I teach. If you look at those careers, they've been saying, "Oh, we need to get more women in these careers." They've been saying that for ages. The reality is that if we live in a free society and people are allowed to choose what they want to do with their lives, and they want to choose something where they have the skills and the talent to be able to excel in that particular field, we're not going to have as many women as men in information technology. And it's not for lack of trying. It's that women aren't choosing that career. Women are not, many of them do not have the same sort of natural, inclinations and talents to really excel in those careers. And so they're choosing to do something different. If you just demand, oh, we have to have this, we have to have just as many women as we have men in here, then you absolutely have to lower the bar to let some people in that are not as skilled, that are not as talented.
And women are different. Oh,
They are.
Stop the presses.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, Sweden tried to force an absolute equality across, all professions. And lo and behold, different people gravitated towards certain professions.
Yeah.
But I notice you never hear a call for nursing for 50% men, nor do I hear a call for sanitation workers to become 50% women. Somehow it's only certain jobs they strive for parity.
Yeah. Yep. It's just so absurd. It's this long time thing that's been happening now to say, oh, women and men they're exactly the same, and they are not. They never have been. They never will be. And you know what? I want a woman who is talented and skilled as a pilot to be able to go out there and do the same things that everyone else is doing to become a pilot, and go out and excel at being a pilot. I want her to have that opportunity.
There also can be a strength component. And have you ever been driving a car and the power steering failed?
Absolutely.
You can still operate the car, but all of a sudden The equivalent can happen on an airplane. I did want to note that Kathy, she was a fantastic pilot, but she couldn't drive for shit. Like she got in like 6 car accidents all because of parking.
Oh,
Can't
geez.
win them all, I guess.
Yeah. Yep. Can't.
No. She ended up passing away of cancer, but
Oh, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry to
she
hear that.
was.
Sorry to hear.
Yeah, we used to train aerobatic flying together. It was really,
Oh, that's
really.
neat.
She was every bit as good as I was, and I like to think I was pretty good. But you're not going to find a pilot that doesn't have an ego. It takes a certain amount of arrogance
Yeah.
to because if you lose confidence up there, you're going to mess up.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
different from other kind of things, but again, wear your seat, man. Everybody on that plane was wearing their seatbelt. Otherwise, they would have, fallen up against,
Oh, yeah.
fallen down against the roof of the plane, possibly broke their neck. So yeah, I'm damn impressed at how that fuselage held together.
Oh no, I
have to
like I
say.
said, when I heard about the accident, I saw like the little, little summary of it pop up on in my news app. I'm like, oh God, how many people died? And then to
Right, that's
find
the
out
way
like
I thought.
no one died.
You see
What?
other crashes and planes fall apart, look like they're made of crepe paper.
Yeah.
I'm actually really surprised this thing didn't fall apart.
Like
Well,
like crumple up like tinfoil. And you're just
The
like,
big factor, though, is that it was landing, so there wasn't much fuel left in the wings.
yes, there was very little fuel left. So that was
Yeah, I don't know if you don't just you don't fill her up and take off on a plane. You use
Yeah,
just enough fuel to get to your destination with a safety factor.
mhm.
So, I mean, they wouldn't have been running on fumes, but they would have been very low. If this had happened during takeoff or something, it would have been an entirely different story.
Yeah, and that
Well, we were very fortunate that at this time it wasn't anything worse, but I think that the people that are the best at flying planes, they should be the ones that fly planes.
Yeah, I've had a couple of surgeries, and not once did I insist that my surgeon be like a white man like I am. I'm like, you know,
I would like the best surgeon, please.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The guy who operated on my eye and saved my vision in one eye actually became the head of ophthalmological surgery at Johns Hopkins. So,
Oh my, that's quite the position.
yeah, they I ended up being one of those student cases. So 30 times a day, people would come in and shine the bright slit lamp into my eye and be like, "Whoa." I'm like, "Is it really that interesting?" And they're like, "Yeah, kind of." So, yeah, that's a painful. Like, don't do it if you have an option.
I feel like I've totally lost track of what the chat is talking about.
They've gone off on all sorts of
Strange things. I hope they're not arguing with each other. I don't even understand. I have no idea what they're talking about.
Are they still talking about Melanie Mack?
No, it then moved to something else. I think I saw that they were talking about lofty pixels, maybe. And then they were talking about like Tim's talk or something. I couldn't understand what they were saying about all these people. But yeah. I hope they're not arguing now.
Well, we've got a couple of mods out there in the chat.
I feel like the mods are arguing with each other.
Well, that also happens on occasion.
Well, we've got a pretty well-behaved chat, I have to say. So,
I think so.
Oh, I've seen way worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we've gone over most of the stuff.
Yeah.
If not all the stuff that we wanted to talk about. Did I miss any
I'm really interested in where $4.7 trillion went that has gone missing from Social Security.
Yeah.
I mean,
probably some of those 150-year-olds, they really needed it.
You're old enough, I know, Professor. Remember when the debt first hit $1 trillion? It was such a big deal
Oh, people
that
were
we were.
panicked. They were
Yeah,
freaked
yeah,
out. And now it's like, ew, who cares about debt?
yeah. Now the interest on our debt is more than that, and but so yeah, $5 trillion. That is a significant amount of. And they just sort of signed it out with no transmit code, so nobody knows where it went.
Mhm.
But I think, didn't Elon intimate that they almost were not able to trace it, indicating that they actually were?
Could be something like that. I didn't get to read a whole lot about it, so I'll have to wait and see if there's a little bit more that comes out about that. I had heard the basics, but I hadn't heard a lot of the details specifically about
Yeah.
how they found it, or if they were able to find some sort of destination for it. But yeah, all the stuff that's been happening with Social Security, with Treasury, with all the stuff where they're basically just looking at stuff and they're like, this money should never have been sent. Like, just basic, like, accounting. Like, you should have known that not to pay this bill. Or you should have, if you sent this money, there should have been something that noted why you sent it or who you sent it to.
Well,
It's wild that there's just this whole collection of payments and things that are happening across different agencies where they're just they don't even bother to record like why this money was sent. I mean, I can tell you that working in having worked in business, having worked in education, we have to make copious notes about all sorts of stuff. If you're gonna send a check for something to somebody, you have to write, why, why you're sending the check, who you're sending it to, how you're, delivering them the money. You have to keep records of all of this stuff. And to imagine that we've got a federal government where they're just like cutting checks and then just we don't even know who they went to
well,
or
I'm
why they were
certain.
paid.
I'm certain when they set up the labyrinthine network of shell companies and offshore entities, they never really thought that it could have that anybody would be able to figure out, because they weren't thinking or about the advent of AI. They weren't
Yep.
counting on that. And now it's like, I don't know if you know this, Price, but the NSA saves all encrypted communications, even if they can't break it, because eventually encryptions will be broken. So stuff 20 years that would have been impossible to crack, they can do that now, and they have the recordings. So it's one of those things that they might not read it now, but somebody will be able to read it later. And later is happening for them. And I can't believe the response of the media. They freak out completely that Doge is in there looking and nobody elected and we don't know what they're doing. But $5 trillion disappears and they don't blink an eye.
Nope.
It's absolutely, if they
Yeah, I
weren't
mean
showing their
the
true
fact that
colors.
the fact that all this money is missing and they're not even mentioning it and it's not even a thing, that really is strange.
Yeah, yeah.
They're so nonchalant about it.
Well, the person trying to convince you to stop uncovering corruption is going to be the criminal. Google has been keeping track of search terms, and did we talk about this? The criminal defense attorney has for Washington D.C. area has shot up to 5 times the national average. So has statute of limitations, RICO cases, and a couple of other related terms. So I'm sure there's some people there planning for the worst that never thought they were going to get caught.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's kind of like before DNA, and now AI is sort of the forensic accounting equivalent of DNA, and they saved all the samples. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just really surprised. It's not just the opposition party. It's not just the Democrats. The entire mainstream media seems to be ignoring all of the waste and corruption that's been uncovered and just focusing on, that kid's 19. big balls.
Well, we know why, because already we've found numerous examples of the federal government paying those media agencies
Yeah, I'm not sure it's
copious
just
amounts
that.
of money.
Yeah, I wonder if
Well-
I wonder if it even leads up to the criminal part of the
Who knows?
equation. And by the way, we send 18-year-olds off to war. We have them, maintaining. So why nuclear? Most of the people in the army are younger than the guys over there in Doge. So I don't know why they keep making their age such an issue.
They're just being annoying. But
Yeah. Well, well, maybe they're unexperienced or whatever. Yeah. One of those guys developed an AI that allowed us to, for the first time, read the scrolls from Pompeii.
Yeah, and he started 5 companies. So
Yeah.
how that's really
One of these guys
inexperienced.
is a freaking, functioning genius who was able to do things with AI and image generation, all sorts of stuff that no one else was able to do.
Yeah,
No
Elon
one
didn't
else
go to
could
the
figure it out.
mailroom and pick 5 random
No.
youngsters. He
There are some genuine savants in the group of people that he's got working with him, and more power to him.
Germany actually, Germany. Maybe we could talk about what's going on there Thursday, but they have an entire department in the German police that's made up of savants that are super recognizers that can recognize faces, and they just spend all day going through. They can detect faces with more accuracy and faster than facial recognition software.
Hmm.
So, and some of them are still kids, so they understand the value of talented people regardless of age.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the children, the young guys, the 20s or whatever, 19, 20, whatever. None of that matters. If they're good, with the AI and with the software and whatever that needs to happen there, they should do whatever they do. I mean, I don't have any issue with any of this. I think that that the work that Elon is doing seems to be important work, and if there's a way to kind of cut all of that spending, I think it'll be good.
And he's got like a 70+% approval rating. Like, it's amazing that everybody wants this. But when the media is being annoying, as you said, that's time that they're spending distracting and not delivering.
We live in a
news.
different time now. At least there's a lot of people that I think don't take this seriously anymore. I think people like us, we've known for years that this media thing, like, you can't really trust them. But I think that more people are becoming wise to that now, and I think that's why there are less people that fall for these stupid tricks these days. So I think it's going to be okay. But
that's optimistic. That gives me hope. Thank you.
but I think now is a good time. Professor, I had to go in and out. If you could find some of the names that were here.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. We've got over on Rumble, our friend Kivo1961, who also sent us a Rumble rant for $5.
Very kind of him. Yeah.
Again, yeah, thank you. Folsom Lockdown, becoming a regular around here. Good to see you, Folsom Lockdown. Some Istophobos over there.
Guy's a wanker.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Rolling Pony, Hypno Crab, Dude Bro Seth 420, Senpai 76, Argentum also logged in over on Rumble. And let's see. Hypno Crab says, I don't like your trash can face, but you seem like a stand-up guy. So I guess I'll take that as a compliment. So yeah, we got that's our group we had over on Rumble this evening. Over on YouTube, we had Six, who Six did leave us a poop sticker this evening. So thank you, Six. Joshua Calkins, who also left us one month member for 1 month, as well as a super chat for $1.99 again. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Calkins. And again, this Istophobos person, 5 gifted memberships. So thank you for that.
Thank you, man. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Let's see, who else do we have here? Big Ship, the Big Ship hanging out in the chat. Good to see you, the Big Ship. Tim Hayes, Eraserhead, who was modded this evening. Thank you for your service, Eraserhead. We know you're going to do a great job. Let's see, Empress NM, James Caserta, Matthew Marcillo. Let's see, Tim Hayes.
I didn't see Marla Sharondoff here today. I
Argento.
hope
No,
that
I
everything's
didn't
okay.
see. I did not see Marla Sharondoff this evening. So, yeah. See if I repeat anything here. Kayla Levine, Adam Gray, also wrenched. Thank you for your service, sir. I have Nudic. I can't quite say it the same as you, Bryce.
I have music.
Let's see here. Looking for some other names. And my chat just scrolled all the way to the bottom, so that's not helpful. Let's see if I see anybody else. Oh, look, there's Marla Sharondoff. She says, "I'm here." Oh, it's good to see you, Marla Sharondoff.
Hi, Marla.
Glad you're here.
Oh, where do you see her?
She just chimed in. She must have been lurking. So yeah, it's not showing up quite in our
Oh wow,
in
Marla.
our
Good
chat
to
on
see you.
Rumble yet.
I just felt like I didn't see a comment from her. So.
Yeah, and Captain Palsy also here. I don't think I missed anybody. Did you see anyone else in our list there?
No,
Brett?
but I'm happy that Marla is actually here, and
Yeah.
that we brought her out of hiding to write a message.
Saw Matt Cat earlier tonight. I remember seeing him.
Yeah, no, he was here. I like when Matt Cat hangs out here as well.
I'm sure Smilex was hiding in there somewhere. Hey, Smilex.
You got some people hiding, yeah.
Shh, he's almost finished.
Oh no. All right. Well, if we missed anybody, we're sorry, but thank you for being here. Again, if you're following us here, you're either on Rumble or over on YouTube, we would appreciate getting a thumbs up, getting a like, and maybe
Subscribe to the channel, yeah.
subscribe to the channel, and then hey, leave a comment after the fact if you want to kind of
Very
help
important to
help
subscribe.
help raise our profile a little bit in the algorithm. But yeah, subscribe, and if you're over on Rumble and you're watching without an account, I would encourage you to go ahead and get that account. Sign up with Rumble. They're a great company helping protect our
free speech.
Yes, and then you can follow our channel, and yeah, there's plenty of other great creators out there on Rumble as well. So yeah,
cool. Yeah, so I guess that's it then. We should say goodbye at this point.
Absolutely. Well, good night, everybody. Thanks for stopping in, Istphobos, and sharing your knowledge about that the airplane.
Thanks for having me. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Phobos, for hopping on to talk about the plane crash thing. Thank you for your insight.
I left 2 movie recommendations in the chat. Really decent movies I've recently seen. So
cool.
You guys have a good night, gentlemen. Chat. Awesome as always. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Good night.